And then you're worried about that, and then you're worried about your set, you're worried about your lady, you're worried about your parents, you're worried about
Dude, this is
your
comedy.
colon, your liver.
You didn't say anything bad. We'll cut the Heil Hitler thing for sure.
Oh, really appreciate it. Please do. Sorry, I panicked. Did I
He was
say
like,
that?
did I actually say that?
I don't even know if I said it, but I just believe you.
Big out of this. I don't think
you're
people
booked,
heard
you're
Red
booked.
Band.
I don't think you heard
You're
it.
booked. All right, somebody help the man, will you? Help the guy down.
He's all right.
There we go. He's faking it.
Look at those chicks helping you, dude. Nice.
That's a good one. You got one?
Well, I've had so many bad heckles, but the one that really fucked me up was
I haven't yet.
I was kind of new. I was probably like 3-4 years in. I got a college gig, which was huge.
Yeah.
Good money, fly you down, put you up. And it was in Florida, and it was called Florida Atlantic. It was an all-black school, which I didn't know, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So I show up, and I had to follow a rap group. It was like kind of a talent night.
Oh.
I had to follow a rap group, and they were like twirling shirts going, kill Whitey, fuck the cops, I'll
Yeah.
kill
For
you,
real?
you know, fuck this bitch or whatever. And they're killing. Like the whole place is jumping.
Yeah. It was the DNC, basically.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
DNC.
And I remember there was like a little
that's too
cute,
good.
nerdy black girl with a clipboard going, okay, you're next. And I just want to let you know it's very diverse. I'm like, it's not diverse. It's all black. I'm the diversity. But whatever. So it was me and this other kid, and we were both supposed to do 30 minutes. So, you know, these people don't want 30 minutes of one guy. So he goes up first, and they trash him immediately, and he gets off after like a minute and a half. And I was like, what are you, crazy? You got to do your time at least.
Wow.
So he's like, fuck this, I'm out of here. I'm calling my
Wow.
agent. He was like he had self-esteem, this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then I'm like, all right. And then they bring me up like, oh, we got another live one coming up. Oh, baby. And he's looking at me like, oh, this guy's a goner. Like, I totally set up for failure. So I walk on stage, and I'm walking to the mic. The mic is like right where that camera is, and I haven't gotten there yet. And some guy goes, look at this fag. Kills. Huge laugh. So I was like, all right, I can handle this. So I was in such a New York state of mind. I was like, damn, man, what if I was actually gay? And he goes, no, you are. That got an applause break. He's getting high-fived. They're crowd surfing this guy. He's a hero.
Wow.
And then I try to do 20 minutes on Uber after that, and I just ate my lunch for half an hour. But I did my time.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
He did
but
his
it
time.
was brutal, man. I was just watching
Massive
my watch
respect for that.
tick.
I read about a guy who has like some weird fucking birth defect where he comes out of his ass.
Those are called gays.
Some of our greatest leaders, greatest minds, greatest innovators, people that have changed the world, there is something in common with some part of the family being abandoned. Anyone that's in a healthy structure always is underwhelming. They're never really a cool person.
I agree.
Wow.
Their brain stays very right here.
Like if LeBron had a father, he's trash.
No, he's just a weirdly athletic postman at that point.
Wow.
I would ante up and say molesting.
Oh, for
is
sure.
very
I mean,
lucrative.
that's how we got our series.
You're in
deal.
good company.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Were you molested?
A couple times.
Whoa! Send me the tape. Good for you.
You know,
man.
now I'm a little self-conscious. I
This
was
guy.
not worthy of the tape.
I had one similar Hartford Funny Bone. This is years ago. It's probably like 25 people in the room. I'm eating my ass. This guy is in the front row. I'm talking a real nerd guy, like fat guy with glasses and a beard, and he had a woman with him and another, like a sister and his cousin or something. And this guy's like a loser. And I'm bombing, and they keep doing the thing where they mimic my bomb. Like I'd be like, oh, Mick Ultra, huh? And that's the punchline. You go, Mick Ultra, whew, that was bad. And then I'd be like, well, what about Shag Carpet? He's like, Shag Carpet, nothing there, you know? And it was, no one could hear it but me.
That's
so he was like
rough.
taunting me. So I just lost it on this guy, and I was like, fuck you, you piece of shit. And apparently he was like kind of downsy or something.
No.
So maybe he was not fucking with me. Maybe he was just being retarded or something. And
Yeah.
but I didn't know
Bruh.
that. And I kept going at him. And
Bruh.
this is when it gets really bad. When you're like, fuck you. And I just got angry. It wasn't even funny. And this guy in the back goes, go easy on him. So I go, well, fuck you too. What the hell? I'm up here alone, blah, 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 blah. So eventually the guy got up. The retarded guy got up and was like, what the
bruh.
fuck? And I was like, oh, shit. This guy's all, you know, a little melted.
Oh, bro.
And I was like, oh, shit. All right, well, what are you going to do? And they threw the kid out, and they had to throw him out, and, like, he was, like, kind of moaning and stuff.
Bro,
it was
no.
bad. And then I had, like, another 20 to do after that. It was a nightmare. So now the other crowd hates me because I I shit on them. It was
You're going to hell, man.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, you didn't know.
That's the
So-
worst.
Of course, you have your beautiful wife now.
Sure.
You don't know what she looks like. Sorry.
That's just a thing
That's
that
like,
God
it's a
said.
nice thing. She's in a
Yeah.
wheelchair, so she appreciates that.
Yeah, and
Oh, wow.
it's sensitive times, so
Yeah.
regardless,
Yeah, and but don't assume her pronouns either.
that I apologize.
Thank
Are
you.
okay? I apologize. That
I'll let
was
it
wrong.
go.
When did you decide it was over for crushing pussy?
Well,
Yeah, how does
you
a
know,
comic get out of like the single life? Because that has to be tough.
Like, when did you stop cheating?
it's tough because there's a lot of emotions get involved, and as a guy on the road, you pop into Pittsburgh and you might plow a nice plump lady, and then you
whoa.
leave, and she's like, "That's it," and you're
Yeah.
like, "I don't live there."
Yeah, look at look at my show dates.
Yeah,
Brutal.
I'm in Philly tonight.
I'll just
Yeah,
send her
it's
my
crazy.
tour and my schedule, and they're like, "What? Well, we had sex," and you're like, "I know." She's
Yeah.
like, "But I had sex with you." I'm like, "But I had sex with you."
Right.
Yeah, I don't get this weird. I thought what equality. You
Yeah.
know, like why?
That's what I thought. Equality.
Yeah, why do you get to get mad at me?
Yeah. Right.
It was just a fun
The acoustics in here are great.
consensual romp.
Still in
But-
touch with a Pittsburgh girl?
No, she.
Hell
Yo, you see how white boys can just like look past shit like that and just keep having conversation? I can't look past that.
You can do it.
Like, Mark, what the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Yeah, that was pretty wild. That was pretty wild and woolly. What a guy.
What a guy. What an amazing guy. The best guy.
Savage moments. Are we ready for savage moments?
I told an abortion joke recently, and a woman approached me. She was like, "Hey, that's very insensitive. I've had an abortion. You shouldn't tell jokes like that." I was like, "Whoa, hey, sorry. I just told a joke. I think what you did was much worse."
Good on him. Are
We
you
hate to admit it.
serious?
We've come a long way. Like in the 50s, we had whites only and blacks only water fountain, which is incredibly sad, especially if you're a thirsty Asian. So quiet, so secure Asians. Every other group's got to brag and boast. Every group's got a slogan. Black people, I'm black and I'm proud. White people, white power. Hispanics, ay. Not an Asian. Asian just head down, grades up. That's it.
Do be like that.
Asians are the best. You never hear about Asian crime. Never. If I was an Asian guy, I would just start mugging people and be like, "Hey, it's my word against yours." Boy, I hate flying. That's the worst part about this gig. I hate flying. I like a train. Give me an Amtrak any day. I love a train. Trains have such low self-esteem, No bag check, no security. It's almost like they want a terrorist. I love it. I hate flying. Flying is so high maintenance. Flying's like a high maintenance chick. Like, you want to get inside me, you got to get an hour early, take your shoes off, and do a body scan. You're like, Jesus Christ. Come on. Train's like a fat chick. Like, get a beer, get in here. Racism, it's alive and well, man. I was just down in Knoxville, Tennessee. You guys ever been there?
Hello.
What a shithole. Holy hell.
Oh, yeah,
They are 30 years behind over there. You ever go to a town so small they're still racist towards certain white people? They're like, "Hey, watch out over there. That's where the dirty Irish live." I was like, Jesus Christ. Wow, you guys haven't made it to black people yet? And again,
yeah,
these
I
are all
find that
jokes.
crazy when people say those like people that are racist against Irish and like Irish unwelcome. I'm like, wow, that's next level racism.
Take it easy. I'm not racist. I look at racism the same way I look at Nickelback. Yeah, it's fun to joke about, but you never want to see it live.
And you're like, it's the 5th one this week.
Yeah, dude.
Like a black girl?
Yeah.
What?
That's what you don't know this?
No, I'm not on the apps.
You don't know-
I'm
have
not
you
on
ever dated
Black
a-
People Meet.
No, dude. It's on Tinder. Do you ever date like a black nerd?
No, never. I've never dated a black. I've banged a few, but I never dated.
Really?
Yeah.
Personal choice, or is that like circumstance? Is that like hard line?
I just never. I don't want to date anybody, but
Sure,
they never
sure.
pursued. So if the girl's like, "We have to date now," I'm like, "All right, we
Yeah,
gotta
I hear what
date."
you're saying. Yeah.
But a black
Makes
chick was
sense.
never like, "Hey, call me."
Exactly.
Yeah.
You never got called.
Yeah. But I've banged a few, and that was great and terrifying. But never dated. What do you
Yeah.
talk about? Cosby?
He's married to a black lady.
What?
Yeah, I'm married to a
This
black
is
What's
his
that like?
second black wedding.
Second black?
Yeah.
Marriage.
What?
Trying to add the extra word every time Norman says
Yeah,
black.
lady.
Tell me everything.
Like, dude, like whenever I see women, I shudder. Like sometimes I.
Wolf says my country has a bad history with Ireland. I mean, the funny thing, like, I feel like In Australia, I've never encountered or even heard of anyone being racist to Irish people, but maybe that's more of a thing in the UK. I don't know.
I just look at them like, what the fuck? I'm like,
How powerful.
I'm sorry, man. You guys just kick so much.
But didn't you have
ass,
that
dude.
experience when she gave birth though? You watch your wife. Isn't that the one
Yeah,
thing? That's the one
pretty
thing that
nuts.
guys usually switch over, and they're like, they are strong.
That was
Yeah.
insane. Well, it was like I was crying.
You saw it?
Well, I was on the other end because it was like the
face end.
Yeah, the baby had the umbilical cord around her neck, so they had to do the old fucking
lynching.
Open it up. Yeah, open it up. Yeah, they had it 3 times. I had it, dude.
Sorry.
I had 3. I had it too.
Comedy podcast.
I had it.
You married?
Comedy
single.
podcast.
Virgin?
Of course, yeah.
I can't imagine. I bet you'd be great in bed. You're ripped. And you got the best hairline in podcasting.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried yet, so we'll have to see.
All right, well, let me know. Pretty
He
big
is a
hog on
virgin.
you.
That's
Yeah, I could
freaking
see you
base.
packing a crazy tool downtown.
Mm-hmm. That matters to girls.
Apparently, yeah. That's all I hear about.
It depends on the girl, I think.
That Alexa's tricky. I read an article recently. It said Alexa actually listens to everything you say, stores it in a database, could use it against you later. I was like, damn, just like a real woman.
Hey, got him.
Now I'm all nervous. Like, hey, Alexa, what's the weather out there? She's like, why don't you ask Siri? Oh, boy. Yeah, it's got to be hard to be a kid now. I feel bad for kids. So much stimulus coming at kids. iPhone,
Facts.
internet, social media. Remember how happy-go-lucky we were as kids? Not a care in the world. Maybe run to the car. Shotgun. That was like the biggest problem in my life. Shotgun. Yeah, I never see kids doing that anymore. The only time a kid yells it out now is in a classroom.
Oh yeah, yoy.
Oh. Magic Johnson's still living.
Crazy.
He beat Kobe.
He
All right, unlike him, that joke landed.
Oh yeah,
We're
yeah.
having fun.
Still finding the
Thanks for
second
having
time.
me.
Appreciate you coming on, dude. It took too long.
Oh, hey, you got big guy. I mean, you're slumming after Rogan.
You're number 2.
I'll take it.
Not bad.
No fanny pack and no N-word scandal. All right.
So welcome here into the studio. It's good to have you
Hey,
here.
good to be
This
here.
whole thing is
It's,
actually
it's a
pretty good.
pleasure. I'm a little.
New Day, Cleveland. Homie has the Riz. Mark. Normand. New Day, Cleveland.
Welcome back here to New Day Cleveland. It is time for a little bit of a laugh. We need comedian Mark Normand in our lives. He'll be here at Hilarities this weekend.
Hell yeah.
So welcome here into the studio. It's good to have you
Hey,
here.
good to be here. It's a pleasure. I'm a little hungover, a little gay, but just glad to be here with you, sister.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm very happy to be here with you too.
All right.
She's quite pretty.
Sorry, just hiding my erection. But yeah, this is great.
I know you just left Slyman's.
Yeah, I had Slyman's, so I'm really gonna be on the toilet later. But
Oy.
boy, best corned beef in the Midwest, if you ask me.
It's delicious. It's the size of your head.
Yeah, and I ate way too much, but at least everybody there was very attractive.
That's great.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
But good grub there. Whew, still hurting.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Yeah, I've been farting it up in the green room. And, I think I scared.
That's why the door was shut.
Yeah.
To our little smaller green room.
Exactly.
You were just trying to be polite.
We call it hot boxing. Really soaking it all in, because the smell of your own farts, for some reason, is enjoyable. If you
I
farted,
think
it'd be weird.
this is true.
But if I fart, I enjoy. I don't know why.
Is that a guy thing?
Maybe.
Because I feel like you would hear no woman would ever say something like that.
No,
Probably
you
not.
guys are more of maybe a queefing.
Oh my God.
But, is that clean? That's a technical
we're 10
term.
a.m. TV. I mean, you know.
Oh, sorry, 10 a.m. You know, you've up, you had your coffee, your meth, or who knows what.
Oh yeah,
So,
yoy.
yeah, we're all adults here.
So you live in New York City now, but you're from New Orleans.
Yeah, wow, well done. You read my
And
Grindr bio.
I was looking you up, yes.
Yeah.
And I know that we were talking about Cleveland sports here, but I know for you guys and your Saints that was difficult. I'm sorry to bring that up, but I know that was tough.
Brutal. We really thought we had it. You know, New Orleans, all we do is drink and go to strip clubs, so we really needed this win. You know, but no dice. Right there.
So close.
Yeah.
There's always next year, right?
I guess.
Because
But we get one of these every, century. and that was our shot. Drew Brees, you blew it.
So, but you live in New York now, though. So,
Yeah.
living in New York City, and is it true that did you just recently move in with
I
a
bought
lovely lady?
I bought a place. I moved in with a lady, an Alexa.
Alexa
one.
is your lady. Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, she keeps track of everything, and she gets mad when I talk to Siri.
Oh.
But yeah. Bought my place. I own a piece of the rock in Manhattan. It's the only thing my parents have been proud of that I've done. I've done The Tonight Show, Conan, Colbert, Comedy Central, but when I bought my apartment, that's when they actually started answering my phone calls. But hey, that's why I'm a comedian, because I got to get love somewhere. Whoops, sorry, is that a Me Too? All right.
I can handle it. So, but
Hell yeah, bro.
I mean, you're young. So getting into this business
Black
and
don't crack.
getting into this business and
I'm 35.
Dude, I love how
35,
that
not
just
young.
gets her.
But not on the Viagra yet.
It takes her a second to realize how funny that is.
Or am I? Who knows? I like to snort it. Kicks in quicker.
Oh boy, I think that's my cue to just wrap
Oh,
this
is that
up.
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
Mark Norman's going to be at Hilarities tonight you're there through Saturday?
Yes,
He's a real
please.
comedian, man.
So he's there through Saturday. If you have a sense of humor like this, you want to get down and you want to enjoy some more comedy from him, go see him. The food's great.
Yeah, food is good. It's a great club. Pickwick and Frolic.
You got it, buddy.
I think is the name. And
Yes.
yeah, it's right on that weird strip. But if you go past that, you're gonna get killed.
You will be fine. You will be fine. Thank you for coming in.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And I'll call you later.
Okay.
Hell yeah, brother. I'd call her later too. Oh. And oh. What the heck? I guess we could go back to RuneScape. You know? Although, do I even want to, though? Do I want to go back to RuneScape is the question. Morning TV in Tampa, let's go.
I feel like women should hit on men more. Hit on us, ladies. You can say whatever you want to a guy. I had an old lady approach me once. She goes, "Ooh, I'm going to kidnap you." I was like, wow, I could never say that to a woman. I said that to a lady. She calls the police. I would be curious to know what a woman could say that would offend me. Like, all right, I'm going to take you home, drug you, take advantage of you, and film it. I'd be like, all right, well, at least let me pay for the Uber.
Our next guest is a New Orleans native, but now resides in New York City, where he is taking the comedy scene by storm.
And I can't believe what I'm going to get ready to read
I
here.
know. This is a new intro for us.
This is. He claims to have been a bedwetter
He's
as a kid
totally
and as an
autistic.
adult. Comedian Mark Norman, stand-up is anything but dry, and you can see for yourself this weekend at
Got him.
Side Splitters. But first, he's here with us. I gotta say, I knew you were
hey,
a self.
sorry.
Hey,
Don't let yourself
I didn't know
there.
we were
It
peed
happens.
a little.
It happens. Well, that was perfect for the intro then.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
timing on your behalf, right?
Bedwetter till I was 14. Brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah,
No
a
way,
lot
that's
of ruined
true.
mattresses. It looked like a coffee filter. Yeah, but I'm over it now. I'm good.
Hey, that's good.
Well, one thing that I've been able to kind of pick up is you do have that old self-deprecating humor, which I
Sure.
do enjoy in a
I
comedian.
do hate myself. I'm always drawn to people that hate me, I guess because we have so much in common.
Oh,
But yeah, I think most comics should be a little self-deprecating. It'd be weird if I was just like, I'm great, I'm amazing, you know? So you got to make fun of yourself a little.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. I wanted to hear about life growing up in New Orleans. It seems like such a cool area of the country, very different than I think most others.
Very different. It's pretty lawless down there, very
Yeah?
boozy. All my friends are, pieces of garbage and doing nothing. And I love it there. You go back down there and you slip right back in. You're like, I'll have a cocktail at 9 a.m. and I'll find
Chasing
a
alligators
prostitute.
down there too?
Yeah. No, that's all silly. I mean, if alligators is code for drugs, but yeah, it's
Heard that code word yet?
it's a weird place. It feels like it's stuck in the past, and that's how people like it. It's just you go there, you kick back, you say a racial slur, and you get a margarita.
Oh,
you know what I mean? In a good way. In a
You know
good
what?
way.
And I'm gonna try to go here as nice as I can. So right now, my news feed in Facebook is filled with everything dealing with the Nike's new ad.
Oh, yeah.
What I like about you, you're not really saying sides. You're just making jokes about
That's all I do. I don't have any political. I got no agenda. I'm a comic. I'm a joke guy.
I
So I
think
throw a
that's
joke out
good.
there, and I get the hell out of there.
No
There
agenda.
were some good jokes, though, that you're sharing on your Twitter
Oh,
about
thanks.
it. Yeah.
Thanks. What was it I said? Every new Nike should come with one knee pad. You know? But that's, clear. No.
I guess it's about when they were kneeling because of Black Lives Matter. Nike ad. Kneeling? Colin Kaepernick to Nike poster boy, but that's not the ad. I guess we can just imagine what it's like.
Nobody gets hurt.
No one gets hurt. But now on your podcast, though, you kind of throw the whole PC thing out the window.
Oh, yeah, the podcast is filthy. It's not for the light of heart. Then, the PC is so all over us now. You can't say anything. You guys know you can't say anything interesting. You're
I was
in the
scared to bring
morning
up the
news.
Nike thing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I
good
was
for
a little
you.
nervous there.
I don't know how you guys live like this because it just oozes out of me. I'm a horrible human being. I just farted.
Well, I think a lot of people feel what you're expressing in your chat there, but I think it can be misunderstood. I think that sentiment gets misunderstood. It's like trying to minimize the difficulties that black people face. And it's one of these things where it's like both sides can be right and hate each other.
That's a first hearing it on our show.
So, I'm a comic. I have to tell the truth. I can't live like that. So, yeah, it's just fun. It's fun to just get it out there.
What is your podcast about? What are it's Tuesdays?
Tuesdays with stories.
I like it.
So me and my friend Joe List, he goes on the road. I go on the road. I think he's in South Carolina. I'm in Tampa. And then we come back on Monday. We say everything, who we had sex with, who got heckled, who got drunk, who did drugs, and we come back and talk about it.
Man, it sounds like you have to up your game in every city you go to, though, so you can have stories for the podcast.
We want all good things from Tampa, though.
Oh, this place is a
And
land of
specifically the
sin.
morning blend.
Well, you mentioned your friends a few times. I mean, you really are friends with, it seems like the who's who of comedy scene these days.
Wow, I don't know about
It's a
that.
small community, though.
It is. We're all degenerates and weirdos and creeps and drunks, and we're like pirates. We need each other.
It's pretty true.
I
of
could never
comedians,
work
I'd
in like
say.
a real professional setting. I'd get fired immediately and Me Too'd and the whole
Facts.
thing. So yeah, we're all weird and awkward and analyze-y, so we have to hang out together.
That's why it's fun. You never
that.
know what
It's
to expect.
We're weird,
I know.
analyzing.
you guys are
we're
very
like you
normal.
guys.
Here's the thing. We have voices in our head that's telling us we have to go to break right now. So that's how weird we are.
All right.
Of course, you can check them out at Side Splitters for yourself. There's the information on your screen.
Dude, when morning show people try to be funny, though. Next to one of the greatest
I feel
comedians
like
of
women
all
should hit
time.
on men more. Hit on us, ladies.
That's not what I'm trying to do. That ain't what I'm trying to do, though. Oh yeah, I'm not heating soup anymore. I think we're gonna watch videos until the Nintendo Direct. Heating soup while OSRS updates. Watching videos, reacting to videos. Wow. We wait for Nintendo Direct. Mark Norman Savage moments. But the thing is, they keep getting repeated. Mark Norman.
Yeah, hey, good to be here. I Ubered here. I had a real chatty driver. Oh, don't you hate that? Would it be nice if there was a small talk option on the app, But there isn't, so you got to really find your own way to quiet the guy. I like to scare him, He's like, hey, how about this traffic? What do you think's causing this? I'm like, probably the Jews. He's like, all right. Nice quiet ride. Yeah. I'm staying in West Hollywood, very gay area, which I like. Big fan of the gays. Oh, hey,
Thanks,
all
man.
right. Thanks for coming out.
Hey,
yeah.
got him.
Big fan. I feel like gay guys just a little better than us. You know, they're progressive, non-violent. You never meet any violent gay guys. There's no gay gangs. That would just be a musical. Yeah. I have the worst gaydar on the planet. I can't tell who's gay. You know? My friend's always bragging about his gaydar. We'll go out, he's like, he's gay, he's gay, he's gay. I'm like, well, that's not that impressive. I mean, we're at a gay bar. I don't know. You want to impress me with your gaydar? Start pointing out gay babies. Now that's impressive. Like, see that kid breastfeeding over there? Between you and me, he's miserable. I'm not gay. Seeing a lady, my girlfriend, she's obsessed with murder shows like Dateline, Forensic Files. And she caught me watching like 2 seconds of gay porn. She flipped out. She was like, what the hell is this? I was like, well, you watch murder.
Seems fair.
Isn't that way worse? These are just two people having sex. Your thing's the first commandment. This isn't even on the list. She was like, well, do you want to do this? I was like, well, do you want to kill me? She was like, oh, shut up. I'm just watching this so I know what to do if I ever get in that situation. I'm like, well, maybe that's why I'm watching gay porn.
The joke structure. That's too good.
Yeah. She's like, oh, that's ridiculous. This is a reenactment. Well, so is this. This guy's not really a real estate broker. But hey, you guys are a fun crowd. You know, a lot of crowds now very sensitive. Everybody's so offended these days. Words. Oh, you know? I always get jealous when people get offended. They go, hey, that joke offended me. I'm like, wow, I wish I cared about anything as much as you cared about that joke. What's it like to feel? The only feeling I really get is loneliness. I'll feel very lonely as a guy who doesn't get offended.
Same.
Offended people like get together, they make signs, they protest. Unoffended, we don't get together. Never see a bunch of unoffended people outside of a university like, yeah. But I don't know, look where it's gotten us. The whole country feels angry. We're all pent up. We got white supremacists, protests all the time, hate groups. Now, you're allowed to be hateful in America as long as you're not specific. You know, if you go, I hate Jewish people, everybody goes, oh my God, what a bigot, prejudice. But if you go, I hate people, everybody goes, tell me about it.
That's true. Straight facts.
Oh, yeah. People are angry, man. I had one of those White Lives Matter rallies go by my house the other day. I freaked out. Then I realized, it's just a half marathon. Yeah. Women are going through a lot right now. Women are having a real moment, you know. Men are nervous these days. Men are scared of looking like creeps. Have you noticed now when a woman posts a picture on Facebook, it's mostly women commenting? Like, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're sexy. A guy will be like, cool hat. But hey, you gotta listen to the ladies, fellas. You gotta listen. Like a friend of mine, she's like a big feminist. She's like, I have a full bush because that's how I was born. I was like, holy hell, you were born with a full bush? Wow, that is a terrifying baby. Cut the umbilical cord. I can't find it. Also, that baby's gay. Yeah, some guys just like whipping it out. That's wild. Yeah, I think guys get confused, because ladies, sometimes you like a penis. So I think guys think, hey, she liked one last night. Why wouldn't she like one by the copy machine? Women are so complex. Because I think, generally speaking, men are a little more constant. You know, like men like boobs, but we like boobs across the board. You know, boob in the bedroom, great. Boob on the bus, also great. Penis in the bedroom, great. Penis on the bus, call the police. Nobody's calling the police on a boob. If you see a boob out in the wild, it's like seeing a deer. You're like, shh. It's majestic. Right? Then your friend walks up, hey, look at that, a boob. You're like, you spooked it. Thanks a lot. I'm Kevin Hart. Have a good night. Thank you.
I do think it's funny that he always says, thanks a lot, I'm Kevin Hart. All right, who did you say? Steve Hofstetter. I didn't go for Jeff Dunham because I feel like that's just... I feel like as a society we've moved past that. The truth about the vaccine. What's he going
Was
to say?
Jared's ball pain caused by the vaccine?
Yeah, it was real weird. Jared went in for the vaccine, and they were like, give us your right arm. He's like, I've got an idea.
I just needed to adjust the microchip a little bit. It was just like,
Also, we got the vaccine because we have balls. That's...
Steve, that's not fair. I had a neighbor, got the vaccine, next day, died in a car crash.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Because he was like, oh, my balls.
Vaccine microchip reset the one in the car. No, but I mean, look, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but that is true. Like, I had a neighbor, and I'm not making this up. I had a neighbor who got vaxxed, and then just a year and a half later, just dropped dead at 94. And
Same joke, really.
I mean, what else could have caused it? They say natural causes. That's just code.
He did just repeat the other guy's joke with different words. I should probably give him more of a chance. I don't like these vertical videos with terrible sound, though. That's not doing him any favors. It was a terrible clip, wasn't it? It's a shame that was the first thing that came up. Vertical. Is it all vertical? So he doesn't make, like, actual videos? That's a bit rough, man. I'm sure it's funny. But vertical videos with bad sound is not a vibe. The guest list.
Your next comedian has appeared on Conan and has a half-hour special on Comedy Central. Please give it up for my friend, Mark Norman.
Hell yeah.
Hey, good to be here. San Fran. Whew, what a town. Oh, wait, you guys hate that. Sorry, shit. All right, it's good to be here in Oakland. Yeah. I went to the march the other day, the Lady March. That was fun. Yeah, very special day. I haven't heard the word pussy yelled that much since I rollerbladed to high school that one time. Yeah. Good times. I've been on a couple of those things. I went to the Gay Pride Parade a couple months ago. That's fun. I have a friend who I'm pretty sure he's gay, but he won't admit it. Does anyone know a guy like that? And you're like, come on, you're gay. Just tell me we're friends. The most I can get out of him is he'll say, well, I experimented in college. And I'm
Classic
like, yeah,
line.
but you went to college online. Not sure what that means exactly, you know? I went to college online too. It takes like 20 minutes a week. So really, I think you are gay and you experimented with college. Homophobia, that's a weird one, huh? Any homophobes here? Yeah. I did some shows in Boston recently. I was talking to this guy after the show, talking about a friend of mine who's gay. This guy goes, you have a gay friend? I wouldn't even shake a gay man's hand.
Whoa.
I was like, Jesus Christ, why not? He goes, you know how many dicks are on that hand? I was like, well, you shook my hand. You okay with my dick? Because there's a lot of interaction between the two, all right? Yeah. Wow, that is terrible logic. You know who else touches a lot of dicks? Women. Yeah, man, they put them all over. You're screwed. I think homophobia can actually be kind of dangerous, you know? A friend of mine, he's kind of a tough guy. He went skydiving recently. He's like, yeah, I'm not strapping some guy to my back. That's fucking gay. Now he's dead. I'm not gay. Do like the ladies. Big fan of the old labia. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But gay guys are the best. You know, they're nothing but perks. They're nonviolent. They fix up neighborhoods, and they're generally smart people. You never really meet an ignorant gay guy. Now, you never meet a gay guy who's like, I only love 3 things: my truck, my gun, and dick. You never hear that, you know?
It's true, right?
I had a guy say to me once, hey, Mark, you like gays so much. What if you had a gay son? I wouldn't mind having a gay son. Having a gay son's like finding a French fry in your onion rings. You know, you're like, well, it's not what I expected, but I like these too. Yeah, hey. But yeah, the gals. The gals are fun. I always say the wrong thing with girls. That's my problem. I had a first date last week. It's going pretty well. Right when I sat down, she goes, hey, I bet we'd have really cute kids. And I went, hey, I bet we'd have great sex. And she goes, whoa, slow down. I was like, slow down, you're 9 months ahead of me. She's like, I hope you don't think we're having sex. I'm like, I hope you don't think we're having kids. Good Lord. Sometimes you get lucky. I had a one-night stand recently. That went pretty well. I wore a condom. She was on the pill. During the sex, she kept yelling out, oh, baby, oh, baby. Said, oh, baby, like 800 times. So I yelled out, gonorrhea. And she was like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, oh, I thought we were just yelling out shit we don't want. Weird how we yell out baby. How did baby slip through as like a sexy term? Baby, how'd that get in there, you know? Because you can't be like, toddler. Same exact thing, yet one is completely inappropriate, right? We should be saying consensual adult, Yeah, so you gals are just kind of a tough nut to crack because you're all different. Like some girls like a nice guy. Some girls like jerks. So how do you know? What I do both. I see an attractive lady, I open the door for her, and I say, after you, fatty. Mix it up, cover your bases, you know? I've never paid for sex. Anybody ever pay for it? Wow, all right.
Someone's proud.
I don't think there's anything wrong for paying for sex, creepy guy. I really don't, you know? Sex is just a need like anything else. Why is that the one need we have where it's frowned upon if you pay for it, you know? We don't do that with any other needs. You know, no one's ever like, come on, man, you paid for those groceries? You're a young guy. You should be farming. Get out there. Plant some seeds. I tend to meet girls at bars. That's my move. I notice there's a lot of girls at the bars these days flirting with guys just for the free drinks, you know? They're not going to put out, but they want those drinks. Pretty good move.
It's real.
Makes you wonder, you think there's ever been any smart kids out there who would flirt with pedophiles just for the candy? Now you're like, hey, Timmy, don't talk to that guy. He's a child molester. I know what I'm doing. Gotta get these Skittles somehow. You know? Boy, it's gotta be tough to be a pedophile now. Kids are so grown up. They're like little adults. They got their own jobs and they got briefcases and shit, you know? It's gotta be tough to be a pedophile now. And now a pedophile's like, hey, kid, need a ride home in my van? The kid's like, no, I'll just Uber. I'm good, you know? Not a religious guy. Anybody here like really religious? All right, well, I'm gonna shit on it.
Oh no, not me.
Yeah, religion. I actually went to Catholic school for 6 years. 6 years. Yeah. Anybody else? Oh yeah. Yeah, you were molested. Yeah, all right. 6 years, yeah. It's the weird thing. I went in a believer. I graduated an atheist. What does that say about the school system, you know? That's the thing about religion. The more you learn about it, the less you believe in it. It's kind of like your parents.
No,
You know,
my
at first you're
situation.
like, wow, these people are amazing. They know everything. Then a little time goes by. You're like, these drunks are just making up as they go along. Now, I've noticed a lot of people believe in God, yet nobody believes in magic. I find that interesting. Aren't they kind of similar? You know, you believe in magic, people call you an idiot. You're like, well, what if the whole water in the wine thing? That was kind of like magic. And they always say, yeah, but shut up. I like magic. I have way more respect for magic than I do for religion. At least magicians back it up. Can you imagine if magicians did what priests did? Besides that, yeah. But, you know, it'd be so much less fun. You know, magicians are like, all right, now to pull a rabbit out of a hat. And you're like, I don't see a rabbit. You got to believe there's a rabbit. Sorry, man, I just don't see it. Well, you're going to hell. That's religion.
Tommy doesn't like religion, I guess.
I think if I worship anything, it's religion. That's what I worship. I mean, if I worship anything, it's the internet. I love the internet. That's what I worship. Love that Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi everywhere now. Restaurants, coffee shop, dive bars. Never at a church, though. Never seen Wi-Fi at a church. Why is that? I think it's because no church wants to compete with invisible power that actually works. Church wants a guy in the back with a laptop fact-checking everything that would ruin the whole sermon, you know? Guys up there like, and then Noah brought 2 every animal onto the ark. Some guy in the back's like, according to Google, that's not possible. Come on, let's be honest. Emails get answered, prayers don't. That's all I'm saying, you know? My whole life, been praying for a bigger penis, nothing. Every day on my email, they're trying to help me with that. All right. Good group. That joke doesn't always go over. All right, let's make it a little more comfortable in here, huh? Let's talk about race. Yeah. Racial stuff, always touchy, and I know I'm a white guy. We got it pretty good on paper. The only thing that sucks about being white is we have to prove we're not racist all the time. That's exhausting. No other group really has to do that. You know, you never see a Puerto Rican guy like, I have plenty of Chinese friends. We gotta prove it all the time, and it's a lot of work. I was at a bar once, this guy handed me a beer. I went, gracias. This guy goes, you just saying gracias because I'm Guatemalan? I was like, shit. I thought you were Mexican. This guy goes, you don't have a lot of Hispanic friends, do you? I was like, no, I don't. I don't have a lot of white friends either. You want to rub it in? Right. Why do we always just jump right to racism? You know, I'm not prejudiced, I'm not racist. I'm just unpleasant to be around. I love some Hispanic friends. Let's give us some black friends. I'm pretty lonely, you know? Sometimes I wish I was racist. I have somewhere to go. They have groups and meetings and shit, right? They got a clan, literally. They spelled it wrong, but they got one. I have 4 black friends right now, which is the best I've ever done. And all my black friends tell me I'm the whitest guy they know, which I'm not sure what that means. I guess because I say words like skedaddle. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, maybe I am super white. I think the whitest thing about me is the fact that after I get a haircut, I like to leave the barbershop. Yeah. Don't see the need for all the hanging around, you know? You don't do that at a dentist's office. Whew, there's a hell of a root canal, and I'm gonna sit in the lobby for 4 hours. Yeah. And I know some people are like, hey, buddy, that's a stereotype. Well, they made 3 movies about it, so you figure it out. Comedy's a good gig. I've had every bad job in the book. Busboy, furniture mover, used to be a janitor. That was a rough job. Mopping floors, cleaning bathrooms. Nobody looked me in the eye, nobody talked to me. I remember one time I was mopping the floor, and a businessman slipped. And he goes, Jesus, man, if the floor is wet, you got to put a sign down. I'm like, I'm mopping in front of you. I am the sign, yeah? You know the little guy on the sign doing this? That's me, but in 3D. Then my boss chewed me out after. He's like, come on, Mark, what are you doing out there? I'm like, I'm mopping. He's like, where'd you learn how to mop? I'm like, I don't know, Fantasia? Who learns mopping, right? Yeah. Single guy, you know. Last girlfriend dumped me, said I wasn't manly enough for her, not a manly guy. That one hurt. I don't know, women are allowed to say stuff like that. Like, you know, at the time I liked her so much, I was like, I'll do anything you want. What are you gonna do? Work out, join the army, hit you? Whatever you need, I'll do it. You know? She was like, look, I just need a manlier guy. I was like, tell me what you want and I'll do it. She's like, all right, fine. I want a guy who will pay for everything, support me financially, always drive, always open the door for me, protect me. I'm like, let me stop you right there. Not a man. Good Lord, of course you want to date that guy. That guy sounds amazing. I would date that guy, you know? My friends be like, hey, Mark, are you gay now? I'm like, hold on, you haven't met Jeff. This guy's incredible. I heard he beat up my high school bully, paid off my student loans. We're getting lobster tonight. This guy is great, but the sex is brutal. Brutal. Gotta wear those condoms, sir. Yeah. A lot of people don't wear them. I hate those guys who complain about condoms. They're like, condoms. Like, come on. It's a layer of latex.
Couldn't be me. I would never complain about that.
You're not eating food with the wrapper on it. You're getting laid. Get over it.
You kind of are eating food with the wrapper on it, though.
Well, you just can't have anything between you and someone else. You know, his dad's like, hey, son, give me a hug. He's like, well, get that fucking shirt off, Dad. All right, I gotta go. I'm Kevin Hart. Thanks a lot. You guys were great. Thank you. Have a good night.
Mark Norman, everybody.
What a guy. What an amazing guy.
I've seen this kid a couple times. He's terrific. You may have seen him on Last Comic Standing. Everybody, give a big round of applause for Mark Norman, everybody. Come on. All right.
smaller version of the last guy. A little bit. Hello, everyone. Hello. A lot of attractive ladies here. Hello. How are you? All right, good. I like an attractive lady, which is interesting, because when I was a kid, I hated girls. When I was like 6 years old, I thought girls were gross, thought they were dumb. And you know, you're allowed to hate girls as a kid, but that's really the only group of kids allowed to hate. Because if I was a 6-year-old that hated Puerto Ricans, that would be weird. You know, if I was like, hey mom, I hate Puerto Ricans, she would never say, oh, you'll like them one day. You'll like them a lot. Any Puerto Ricans here? All right, it's gonna be a good show. I'm just kidding, I love a good Porty. They're good people. I live in the city. I had some friends visit me recently. Real crazy guys, like to get laid, get nasty, get sloppy. You know, the type of guys who do this a lot. You know? Does anyone else have that one friend where you go out to a bar to try to meet girls, and like 20 minutes into it, they just go, screw this, let's go to a strip club. I don't get that logic.
Me either.
You know, to me, that's like going fishing, not catching anything, and being like, screw this, let's go to the aquarium. It's the same thing. Like, I'm not a big strip club guy. You know, strippers are just a big tease to me. Like, I look at strippers the same way I look at fire alarms. You know, I'm like, oh man, I really want to touch that. But I know if I do, I'll have to leave the building. I do like to hit the sauce pretty hard. Quite the booze hound. I was at a bar the other night, and there were a couple girls at the bar flirting with guys just for the free drinks. They weren't going to put out, they wanted those drinks. Pretty good move. Makes you wonder. You think there's ever been any smart kids out there who would flirt with pedophiles just for the candy?
Oh my God.
Hey, Timmy, don't talk to that guy. He's a child molester. I know what I'm doing. Gotta get these skills somehow. I'll tell you, those pedophiles are a creepy bunch. Creepy bunch of guys. Creepy's a fun word, though, isn't it? Because it's a word that's changed with age. To a kid and to an adult, they mean totally different things. Like, to a kid, creepy's like spooky, like a cemetery is creepy. To an adult, creepy's like a guy on a bus who winks at you while eating a banana. It's totally changed. I'm actually the creepy guy at my office. I work as a janitor during the day. I tell people I'm a maintenance man, but there's mopping. There's mopping. Hate my job. It's the worst job I've ever had. Everybody looks down at me. They talk down at me. The other day I was mopping the floor, and a businessman slipped. And he goes, come on, man. If the floor's wet, you got to put a sign down. I'm like, I'm mopping in front of you. I am the sign. No little guy on the sign doing this? That's me, but in 3D. Come on. Then my boss chewed me out after. He's like, come on, Mark, you're embarrassing me out there. I'm like, well, that makes two of us. I'm a janitor. One perk of being a janitor is I work a lot of ex-cons, and they tell me stories of jail, and they are terrifying. Horrific stories of prison. You know that whole drop the soap thing in prison? That is real. That's a real thing. Don't you think it's about time in prison showers we get some body wash in there? Wouldn't that help a lot of people out? Like, well, I dropped a little. I'll just get another squirt. Back it up, back it up. I'm not bending over. That should be Body Wash's whole new ad campaign. Buy Old Spice. It'll save your ass.
Pretty good.
Somebody recently told me that that joke was homophobic. And if being scared of getting anally raped makes me homophobic, I'll take it. There's a gay guy at my work. I like the gays. We're good buddies. I have good gay appeal, I've been told. There's a gay guy at my work, and I'm all for gay marriage. I love gay marriage because it's the only big issue you can be honest about and still look like a good person. Let me explain. Like if somebody says, hey man, how do you feel about that earthquake in Haiti? I don't care. It doesn't affect me. What a dick. But if somebody says, hey man, how do you feel about gays getting married? I don't care. Doesn't affect me. You got the right attitude. Very progressive. I have a good friend that he's got to be gay. Like, I'm positive he's gay. I'm 100% positive he's gay, but he won't admit it. You know, I don't care that he's gay, but just tell me. We're friends. The most I can get out of him is he'll say, well, I experimented in college. And I'm like, yeah, but you went to college online. You ever done college online? It's like 20 minutes a month, you know? So really, you are gay and you experimented with college. That's what really happened there. I love the gays. One of my friends just moved up here, and he's kind of new. He's kind of behind the times. And every time he talks about a gay person, he says this. He goes, yeah, you know my friend Jeff? He's gay. Good guy, though. Every time. He's gay. Good guy, though. Which is weird, because gays aren't even known for being bad people, you know? Like, I can see if you're like, oh, you know my friend Jeff? He's a pedophile. Good guy, though. Now, that makes sense, but that's not even a stereotype that gays are bad, you know? No one's ever like, hey, man, hide your wallet. There's gays around. Religious people don't like the gays. That's a thing. I'm not religious. I'm not religious at all. Although I do find religion fun.
I don't have a problem with the gays. This, by the way, as a religious person.
Like, it's interesting to me that in the 50s, rock and roll was considered the devil's music. Now, there's Christian rock.
It's true.
But what the hell happened there? I guess Christians go by that old motto, if you can't beat them, ruin it.
That was a pretty good joke.
I think my favorite religion's got to be Scientology.
I got to admit, like 99.99% of Christian music sucks. I'm gonna be real.
Scientologists here? All right, let's make fun of them. I love Scientology because it's the only religion out there that you can make fun of in public and everybody's on board, you know? Religion's such a touchy subject. You can never do that with any other group, you know? You can never be like if you're like, hey man, I hate the Muslims. Well, you're a racist. Well, I hate the Jews. Well, you're an anti-Semite. Well, I hate Scientologists. What are you doing later? Any Jews here?
What's plagal cadence? What is that? Oh, that's a band. Is that like a Christian rock band?
All right, confident Jews. I like that. I don't know why you put your dukes up. That's weird. All right. You must be from Brooklyn. I love a good Jew. I love Jews. I like Jews because you guys have your own persona, your own personality, you know? So much so, you can actually use the word Jew as an adjective. You know, you can be like, oh yeah, Jeff's got curly hair, very nervous, kind of Jewy. But you could never do that with any other religion, you know? You can never be like, oh yeah, Bob, he won't let his wife drive. Kind of muzzy. Makes her cover her face. Big old muzz, that guy. A buddy of mine's a real big sports fan. He was bummed out the other day because his favorite baseball player is on steroids. And I was like, what do you care? And he goes, hey, how would you feel if your favorite porn star was on Viagra? And I was like, well, honestly, I think it's strange you think my favorite porn stars are men.
Good point.
That's a little weird. Also, I don't care if porn stars are on Viagra. I don't care if they're on steroids. That's great, you know? I'm not watching porn for the ethics, you know?
Definitely not.
I love the internet. That's my religion, I feel like. If I have a religion, it's the internet. I'm on it all day, I give it money, that's my religion. That's why I love my neighborhood, because everyone around me has Wi-Fi. Restaurants, coffee shops. I saw a dive bar with Wi-Fi the other day. The only place I've never seen with Wi-Fi is a church. And I think that makes sense. Because no church wants to compete with invisible power that actually works.
I mean,
All right.
we are watching an old. I mean, it is a rerun, right? Because it's a joke that he did before. I think we are gonna have to move on to like watching something else after this one, because we are getting repeated jokes. But also, thanks for the first time chat. Who's your daddy, W?
Race is a touchy subject, huh? Let's talk about that. I got in trouble at a comedy show recently because I used a racial slur. But I didn't even know it was a slur. I had no idea. But in my defense, can we all agree that the gentlest of the racial slurs has got to be...
I have a 1080 Ti, and my CPU is a 7800 X3D. Hey, thanks for the follow. Who's your daddy, W? Appreciate you. I don't know. I think I have 32 gigs of RAM, and I think it was like the best RAM to get for my CPU. And I have a good motherboard. It's like a Aorus, Gigabyte Aorus, something dope master. It was like the best one. Trying to buy a gaming laptop. True, brother.
Chinaman. I mean, come on. He's from China. He's a man. Not so bad. To me, the names of Chinese restaurants actually sound a lot more like racial slurs. Let's try some. You know who can't drive? Those frickin' Panda Kings. They cannot drive at all. And listen to this, one of those golden noodles just moved in my apartment building. Oh yeah, moved in right next door to me. They're one big happy family. It's alright, I can do that joke. I'm friends with an Asian, Good guy, though.
This one, MSI Pulse 17 AI, Intel Core Ultra 7, built-in AI, 240 hertz is dope. Also QHD plus is a good resolution. Because I feel like 4K is overkill and too hard to run. 4070, that's pretty good. The only thing I would say is that for a while now, AMD has been making the best gaming CPUs. I don't know if this CPU is good enough. I would personally get something with a AMD CPU. I mean, I do everything desktop, so I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes with a laptop. But I know that when I got the 7800 X3D CPU, that was the best gaming CPU. And now it's probably the 9800 X3D that would be the best gaming CPU. But I also have a mental issue where I always have to get the best. Otherwise, I just won't get something. Like I'm still using the 1080 Ti because I can't afford a 5090. I think it's just my autism or something.
Race is such a ridiculous thing to get mad about. You know, it's such a touchy thing. Everybody gets so cringy about race. Like, I think sometimes calling someone racist can, in fact, be more racist. I'll give you an example. I was at a restaurant recently. Guy came in to get a takeout order. They screwed up his order like 5 times. Eventually, the guy just snaps. And he goes, Jesus, what is this place run by monkeys? And the manager goes, excuse me, sir, that is racist. Now it is.
True and real. The Intel Core Ultra 7 155H is a 16-core, 22-thread laptop CPU with up to 4.8 gigahertz speed, 24 megabytes cache, integrated art graphics that you don't need because you have a GPU, and a built-in AI NPU. It supports up to 96 gigabytes of DDR5/LPDDR5X RAM and balance high performance with efficiency. So are you telling me I'm wrong, or are you just telling me what it does? All I know is that when I got my CPU, the best gaming CPU was the 7800 X3D. And I think I've heard people say that now the 9800 X3D is the best gaming CPU. It's just information. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's about all I know, is that that's what was the best. And and the 9800 X3D is what I've been hearing is the best now. But it might be different with laptops. Yeah, I don't know. Although I don't think Intel CPUs are running cooler than AMD CPUs at this point in time, but I could be totally wrong.
I was at a party recently, and this guy comes up to me out of the blue, and he goes, "Hey, have you ever dated a Spanish girl?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And he goes, "You don't have any Spanish friends, do you?"
Oi.
I was like, "No, I don't. I don't have any white friends either. You want to rub it in?"
Got him.
Like, why do we always jump right to racism? You know, it's always like, "You don't have any black friends? You must hate black people." No, I'm just unpleasant to be around. I kill for some
What's the AMD CPU?
black friends. I kill for some white friends. I'm very lonely. Take it easy, Spanish man. Good lord.
Oh, HP Smart Choice Omen. Ryzen 9 7940HS. See, I don't know these laptop things. 8 gigabytes. RTX 4070 AI powered gaming laptop. 16 gigabytes of DDR5. I mean, that's a good amount of DDR. I think it's crazy they still make graphics cards that only have 8 gigabytes of DDR memory. IPS 300 nits. I mean, if I was getting a gaming laptop, I would get one that had a OLED screen. But I don't know if that matters to you.
I am seeing a lady right now. It's not going too well. I don't know why that turned you on. Do you want to join? I don't know. All right. Wait for an answer there. I got nothing. Yeah, it's not going too well. Got something from the girlfriend last night I haven't got in years. Got the old blue balls. Nothing about that. Hate the blue balls. The worst part about it, she's like, "What is that? What is blue balls? I don't get it. What is that? Can you explain it to me? What is that?" And the only way I could explain it to her, the only way I could make her get it, was by saying, "Hey, did you ever happen to Susie?" No, I can't say.
Classic.
She was like, "What happened to Susie?" I said, "Look, I can't." She's like, "What? You can't just start it up and not finish?" Like, "Look, I can't." She's like, "Please, please, I'll do anything." I'm like, "That's blue balls." Right there, sister. One good thing about the relationship is me and my girlfriend are both terrible in bed, so we get along in that way.
Well.
And I caught her reading a Cosmo recently. I look over her shoulder. It says, "Please your man in bed by giving him compliments." I was like, all right, it's going to be great.
I need some water.
She's going to be complimenting me,
My
which
bad.
she did. But the compliments weren't sexy, so it was just awkward.
Did you get disconnected when I was answering your last chat? Because, I mean, I just don't know that much about gaming laptops. Like, I don't know what a Ryzen 7940HS really is. But, like, I'm sure you can just look it all up, right? I feel like a really good guy for gaming laptops is Dave2D. If you go on YouTube and you just search Dave2D, he's often doing really good gaming laptop reviews. I'd check him out.
I'll give you an example. We're going at it, and I flip her over, and she goes, "Good idea."
Good idea.
Then I did something else. She goes, "Nicely done."
By the way, the first laptop I showed you, I was checking its FPS video. It's giving good raw performance without DLSS. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with DLSS, but yeah, that probably the best thing to do is just look at the game performance in the games that you're going to play on the laptops. That's what matters, right?
I'll tell you, getting compliments in bed sounded good in theory. But you never want to be in a sexual situation with a woman and have her say, "Not too shabby."
Not too shabby.
A little adult creepy. Thanks a lot, guys. I'm Mark Lawrence.
Not too shabby. Yeah, I don't know. I think if I was going to get a gaming laptop, I would just look at Dave2D. But yeah, don't be afraid of DLSS. It's really good. I'm guessing Apple just discontinued the iPod because everyone got iPhones and they weren't selling. Like, for example, in Cyberpunk, I'm getting 70 to 80 FPS on max settings with DLSS. It's 100 plus. Exactly. This is why DLSS is based. Yeah, I would really like this timer to stay on top. It's kind of annoying that it's keeps going away. You'd think one of these settings would be always on top, but it doesn't look like it. Always on top. Like me and my girl. Haha. I guess the time is just going to disappear every time I click on something. What should we watch, folkies? What should we have a poke at? Every cancelled Pokemon game leaks discovered. That's probably interesting, right? Although I guess you would have to be into Pokemon. I guess we are waiting for a Nintendo Direct, so it doesn't seem crazy. What was this link? Link to a laptop. Look, man, I don't think I'm going to be your personal laptop picker. But I appreciate you. I appreciate the follow. And I'm happy to chat with you in chat. But I don't really want to turn the stream into choosing your gaming laptop.
We did it. We got our hands on a lost Pokemon game, and we're leaking it in today's video. Not only are you going to see it in action, we're also going to show how
This
you
looks
can play it
weird.
for yourself. Maybe leak is the wrong word.
With a
We
mouse?
actually got it legit from one of the developers, so technically it's more like we're dumping it, along with all the raw files and concept art.
Dumping
But first,
it.
we're going to cover the full history of every canceled game in the series. Pokemon Pink, Pokemon Picross, Pinball DS, enhanced editions of Fire Red and Leaf Green, and a couple more. We'll cover them all in chronological order, except the one we're dumping, because we want to save the best for
We're
last.
dumping.
A couple quick caveats before we get started, though. First, not all these games were technically canceled. Every game had unique circumstances, but canceled is a close enough blanket term we're using for games that never made it to store shelves. Some were more like failed pitches at Nintendo, while others were 100% finished but got locked away in a vault. Also, we're not going to cover Meowth's Party or Pikachu DS because they were just tech demos created to show off the capabilities of the GameCube and DS, and were never meant to become full games. We're not covering Pocket Monsters 64 either, since its supposed existence seems to be based on decades-old misunderstandings from fans who thought a full Pokemon RPG was in the works for N64, but in reality that game was just Pokemon Stadium. Okay, with all that said and the intro out of the way, let's start off by dissecting Pokemon Pink, which it appears Game Freak planned to release alongside Pokemon Yellow in 1998. In other words, Pokemon Pink and Yellow would have been paired releases, just like Red
weird.
and Green. Fans had no idea about Pink until April 2020, when source code for Blue and Yellow leaked on 4chan. There were all kinds of interesting finds in the code, like unused Pokemon sprites, and audio files showing pretty much every Pokemon was intended to say its name. All
Does
those
sound
voices
terrible.
got cut, probably because they were cursed, so in the final
Facts.
game, the only Pokemon who talks is Pikachu. The source code also contained a couple references to a non-existent Pokemon game, like a header for, quote, Pocket Monsters Pink and Yellow. Notice how Pink comes first. There's another line that mentions Pink and Yellow packages. For comparison, here's what the equivalent code looks like in earlier games. Basically identical, except it says Red and Green packages. To explain packages in layman's terms, Red and Green are both built from the same source code, but which package identifier gets ticked determines which game you can play on a Game Boy cartridge. If the red package is ticked, the game boots up as Pokemon Red. So all signs point to Pink and Yellow being another paired release, and in that regard, you could say Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are their spiritual successors. We talked to the cutting room floor admin
Makes
Higa
sense.
Hikari to explain technical details, and she said they experimented with changing the package from yellow to pink to see if it'd magically unlock a lost Pokemon game. Unfortunately, and unsurprisingly, it didn't work, but it was worth a shot. We can't say for certain, but it appears Pokemon Pink was likely scrapped very early in development, since these two lines of code are the only evidence of its existence. The Pokemon companies only mentioned Pokemon Pink in one interview, and we'll get to that in a minute, but without more info from them or Game Freak, it's impossible to say how Pink would have been different from Yellow. Presumably, the game and a lot of the sprites would have had a pink palette. Some fans believe Jigglypuff would have appeared on the game's box art, considering its prominent role in the anime, and that Pikachu and Jigglypuff were the only two Pokemon fighters in the
True.
original Super Smash Bros.
That makes a lot of sense.
Maybe those two were chosen for Smash because at the time they were set to star in 2 upcoming Pokemon games. But the most popular theory is that Clefairy would have been the star, because
Oh.
the Japanese version of the Game Boy camera had this frame of Pikachu and Clefairy
Oh.
together, which got removed from later international releases. But more
There
importantly,
you
because
go.
the 1996 Pocket Monster manga that predates the
weird.
anime starred Clefairy and Trainer Red. Some fans speculate that while Pokemon Yellow uses elements from the anime, like a Pikachu partner, Team Rocket, Nurse Joy, or Officer Jenny, Pokemon Pink would have been more like the manga, and also maybe cater more to female fans, which was an explicit priority for the franchise at the time. After
Facts.
the leak dropped on 4chan, 4chaners started making a Pokemon Pink ROM hack to bring that vision to life with a female player character, but ultimately it was never finished. The
Aw.
Pokemon Company never addressed the leak. We did, however, find one instance where the words Pokemon Pink crossed the lips of company president Tsunekazu Ishihara. In a Japanese interview from 2000 we had translated, Ishihara and series creator Satoshi Tajiri explained Gen 1 and 2's development. We'll make the full translation publicly available, linked below if you want to read it. Regarding Pink though, he says, quote, "We made red and green, then after that we made blue. Later we made yellow, and it might have been nice if the next games were called pink or purple, but if we did that, all we'd be doing is perpetually making extensions of the originals." In context,
True.
he's explaining why the next games were called Gold and Silver, so they could keep using colors while also signaling to customers that Gen 2 is more impressive than Gen 1. But
Very
Ishihara's
true.
sentiment that pink or purple might have just been perpetually making extensions of the originals might also apply to why Pink got cancelled, because there were already 4 versions of Gen 1, and a 5th version would have been overkill. Not just for the fans, but also for Game Freak. They needed to devote more resources to making Gen 2, which ended up releasing 2 years behind schedule, even without getting slowed down making Pink. Maybe we're reading too much into that quote, but regardless, that was indeed the situation. The most pessimistic view was voiced by Higa Hikari, who said it's possible Pink was never anything at all, not even an idea. A lot
Oh,
of
wow.
source code was copy-pasted to make yellow, so maybe Game Freak's programmers just deleted the words red and green and replaced them with pink and yellow without much thought. If that's really all that happened, Pokemon fans have spent the last few years theorizing about nothing. And somewhere out there, Ishihara's laughing his ass off at our expense. Hopefully not, though, and someday he'll reveal a big binder about Pink on Japanese TV, like he did a few years back with all those Kapumon sprites. Next up is a game we can say with 100% certainty did exist because the full game leaked online 2 decades after it was cancelled. Playable from start to finish, even the credits. Pokemon Picross was a Game Boy Color puzzler first announced in Japanese magazines in 1999, which showed off screenshots and some original artwork. The game was developed by Jupiter Corporation, the same guys who made the Pokemon Pinball spin-offs, or at least the 2 pinball games that didn't get cancelled. More on that later. Jupiter created the Picross series a few years earlier, and it sold well enough that they released about 40 more Picross games up to the present day. They've crossed over with Mario and Zelda, and briefly with Pokemon in Picross NP Volume 1, a Super Famicom game only available via the Japanese Nintendo Power Service. But there was also a full Pokemon game that slipped through the cracks. Picross's gameplay is kinda hard to explain and we don't want to bore you, so simply put, it's kinda like Minesweeper, or Sudoku with less math. If you're interested in learning, Pokemon Picross comes with a tutorial taught by Professor Oak, and after the leak, the community took it upon themselves to release an English fan translation. The game's got an original 23-piece soundtrack. That's what you're hearing now. In addition to Oak, it's got Pikachu, Misty, Team Rocket, locations all around Kanto, and lots of anime references. You can also get Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle as partner Pokemon, which change the border colors to green, red, and blue. Interestingly, you can also get Clefairy and Jigglypuff as partner Pokemon, which changes the border to pink or purple. Pink or purple? Anyway, it's a good little puzzle
There you
game
go.
and pretty addictive. In 2015, Jupiter released a different Pokemon Picross game for 3DS that got pretty good review scores. Unfortunately, it was digital only, so nowadays it's impossible to download on your
True.
3DS, since Nintendo shut down the eShop in 2023.
He says impossible, but there's a thing called the H shop. I'll let you research the H shop for yourself.
You can catch both games online, though, if you're up for sailing the high seas. Not that we condone piracy, of course. And now
yes.
for something completely different. A pitch within Nintendo to develop upgraded Chinese editions of Fire Red and Leaf Green. We don't want to get
Chinese
lost in
editions.
the weeds with the entire history of Nintendo in China, but long story short, in 2000, the Chinese government instituted a ban on consoles entering China because they thought addictive video games were melting the brains of Chinese youth. A couple years
It's
later,
true.
Nintendo managed to sidestep some of those laws by partnering with a Chinese national to found a new company called iQue. iQue went on to produce Chinese versions of Nintendo consoles, including the Game Boy Advance, and localized some of their games for the Chinese market. In 2020, iQue was hacked and a lot of their records leaked online. Among all those documents was a PowerPoint presentation that iQue presented to Nintendo executives in 2004, outlining their plan to develop Chinese versions of Red and Green that would have implemented some remarkable upgrades. For the most part, these still would have been the same exact Fire Red and Leaf Green released around the world, collecting Pokemon, going town to town collecting badges, and so on, but with new features added, mostly focused on internet functionality. For example, the games would identify the player's location and change the in-game weather to match the real-life weather outside. Previous Pokemon
That's
games
cool.
already had a day-night cycle based on real time, but this would have taken it to the next level. Specific Pokemon's locations around Kanto would have changed depending on real-life location as well. Details aren't spelled out in the document, but it sounds like a prototype of Pokemon Go in that respect, with players needing to go here and there to catch them all. Pokemon Centers would also be expanded, with only 30 Pokemon storable offline, but tons more stored online in Pokemon Center PCs, sorta like an early version of Pokemon Home. On the second floor of these expanded Pokemon Centers, fans could battle on the internet, and not just the kind of online battles later introduced in Gen 4, instead, gameplay would switch to a computer screen, and you'd use the GBA as a controller. Battles would use Pokemon Coliseum's code, so all Pokemon and environments would be fully 3D. There'd also be online distributions of special Pokemon and items, which wasn't a thing in Pokemon games till the DS era. But instead of Nintendo just giving you special Pokemon, you'd go to completely new parts of Kanto to
DS
hunt
Lite
them.
was so awesome.
So kind of like the Sevi Islands for catching Mew and Deoxys that were already special events in Fire Red and Leaf Green. But iQue said new areas would also get added gradually after launch. Needless to say, these enhanced ports would have been far ahead of their time, with features not seen in Pokemon games till years in the future, or in some cases still haven't been seen even today, almost 20 years later. There also would have been some other small tweaks like egg hatching variables, and of course the text would have all been Chinese. So why didn't Chinese Fire Red and Leaf Green get made? The leak doesn't say. But if we had to guess, the Pokemon Company didn't want to hand over the keys to their precious IP. We wanted to know for sure though. We didn't want to just guess. One of the guys who makes up Did You Know Gaming lives in China, so he went looking for former iQue developers to find the story. He
Cool.
couldn't nail down a concrete answer on this
Aw.
project specifically, and the devs didn't want their names on record, but they did share a story that shed light on how relations broke down between China and the Pokemon Company around that time. Long story short, Nintendo President Iwata, Pokemon Company President Ishihara, and some other execs flew out to iQue's headquarters. The execs ultimately decided too many Chinese people were pirating Nintendo games, so it just wasn't worth investing in the Chinese market anymore.
Wow.
iQue only released a few more Nintendo games after that. Then lots more that were previously planned ended up being canned.
But do you think maybe
including
they
a fully
pirate them less
finished
if they could buy them
localization of
legally?
Ruby and Sapphire. It's a shame those upgraded versions of Fire Red and Leaf Green never got made, but most of us can't speak Mandarin anyway, and even less have access to Chinese servers, so you probably couldn't have played them anyway. Pokemon Pinball for Game Boy was one of the earliest and most beloved spin-offs in the franchise, and its GBA sequel got review scores on par with the mainline series. But after that, the series just kinda died off. Unknown to the public though, a playable demo for a third entry on Nintendo DS was developed in secret. The Pokemon Company said they were the best graphics they'd ever seen outside Japan, but sadly, the game was never finished. Fans first became aware of the project thanks to a leak in 2021. which included a spreadsheet saying Pokemon Pinball DS was planned to release around the same time as Diamond and Pearl, and that it was being developed by Fuse Games, the same team who made Mario Pinball Land and Metroid Prime Pinball. No other information was available, so we searched out the devs to learn more about it. Fuse shut down almost 15 years ago, but we managed to get in contact with their artist Matthew Nightingale, one of 9 guys who worked on Pokemon Pinball DS. He told us it would have been more of an adventure game, similar to their take on Metroid. He believed it was the quality of their Metroid adaptation that led Nintendo and the Pokemon Company to come visit Fuse's office in England and fund the development of a playable demo with 3 stages. To help you visualize Matthew's description of the game, we commissioned artwork for all 3 stages. The first stage was Sinnoh's countryside. The time spent playing on this table represented the amount of time it took to travel from one city to the next. Pokemon appear on the table as you travel down the route, like Diglett bumpers or Pikachu up a tree. You hit Pokemon with the Pokeball to stun it, then tap it with your finger to catch it. If you didn't click quick enough, it runs away. After enough time's gone by, the city gates open and you shoot the pinball inside to progress to the next table, the city stage. Catching Pokemon simpler and faster than the older games, so by the time you're through the countryside and the city, you've collected enough Pokemon to form a team. Then it's time to progress to the demo's final table, where you fight a gym leader. Out of all the Pokemon you've caught, you need to decide which ones to take into battle, ideally with type advantages like water versus fire. The gym stage is double-ended. On one end, you have your flippers with a Pokemon between them, and on the other end is the gym leader's Pokemon. You power up your attacks by hitting the ball to certain parts of the table. Then once you've charged up enough power, you fire your ball into a hole to make your Pokemon attack. The table only has 1 ball, so if you lose control of it, the gym leader can get a hold of it to charge his own attacks. Pokemon Pinball DS also would have had Wi-Fi multiplayer battles that played out just like gym battles. Matthew says the game also would have had an evolution mechanic, and probably would have come bundled with a Rumble pack you plugged into the GBA slot. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company were really impressed with the demo, but for some reason they never greenlit the project for full production, so nothing got made beyond the playable demo. Matthew wasn't invited to that high-level meeting, but he suspects it came down to contract disputes. Pokemon pinball games didn't exactly print money like the core series does, so there wouldn't have been as much to go around for all parties involved. Fuse ended up going bankrupt in 2009, partly because Pokemon Pinball didn't go to market. No one else from Fuse, including the former owners, were willing to share more details with us. As for where that demo is now, well, it's probably out there somewhere. We asked Matthew if it was lost to time after Fuse went out of business, but he said no. Nintendo paid for its development, so they must still have it in their possession. Leaks of early Pokemon prototypes are becoming more common these days, so who knows? Maybe someday it'll find its way online and we'll all get to play it. Next up is Pokemon Gray, the game fans were expecting after Black and White, but were surprised when they got Black 2 and White 2 instead. It was long dismissed as baseless fan expectations, but we did a half-hour expose on Gray last year with evidence to the contrary. You can go watch last year's longer video if you want, but we'll summarize the highlights here and add some new info. In a 2012 issue of Nintendo Dream we had translated, series director Junichi Masuda said, "During Black and White's development, we were thinking about making another version, and weren't thinking about making a direct sequel or making 2 different versions. Honestly, while we were making Black and White, we weren't thinking about making a 2 at all. But we already had a general idea that Kyurem would play an important role alongside Zekrom and Reshiram. We went digging for old filings, and here's receipts showing that a couple months after releasing Platinum, they registered URLs for Pokemon Black, White, and Gray, and also registered trademarks for all 3 colors, along with a few others, like Scarlet and Crimson. The site PokemonGray.com actually existed at one point, though just as a placeholder. There's also a few traces of Gray hiding in Black and White's internal data. Those games feature 2 key items called Dragon Stones, the Dark Stone, which is Zekrom in its dormant state, and the Light Stone for Reshiram. The data also contains a 3rd key item called the God Stone, which was gray in color and presumably once meant for Kyurem, but it ended up going unused. Black and White's internal data also contains a table that reveals how many forms every Pokemon has, and how many Game Freak was planning they will have in the future. Interestingly, the table suggests Game Freak didn't know how many forms Kyurem was going to have in the next game. This lines up with another quote from Masuda, where he says they knew from the beginning Kyurem would fuse with other Pokemon in the next game, but didn't necessarily know he'd fuse with Zekrom and Reshiram specifically. At the time they were making Black and White, they were open to the idea of Kyurem fusing with other Pokemon as well. The 3DS came out
Sounds
a few
cool.
months after Black and White, so fans expected Gray was going to launch on Nintendo's new handheld
True.
and not the old, basically retired DS. But in a Famitsu magazine we
Does
translated,
anyone else remember after Sun and Moon, everyone was expecting Pokemon Stars to be like Pokemon Sun and Moon's superior version on the I think people might have still been calling it the Nintendo NX, but homies were expecting Pokemon Stars on the Switch. I think expectations might have been a little high.
Masuda says that was never going to happen. At the time, there were 150 million DSs in the hands of consumers, but not even 20 million 3DSs. Game Freak could sell exponentially more copies on older hardware because of the larger install base, and they could make even more money releasing 2 games instead of 1. So they went to Pokemon Company President Ishihara to see if he agreed. Recounting that meeting, Masuda said, "Every time we finish a game's development, we're left with a feeling that there are still things left unfinished. As development on Black and White was wrapping up, we were just starting to come up with lots of fun new ways to make the 2 versions more distinct. There was
True.
no way we could implement them in time for Black and White's release, so we gave up on including them, even though we'd really wanted to. So at that point, we decided to make 2 versions of the next game, but we hadn't decided they'd be sequels yet. When we talked to Ishihara, he said, "If it's going to be on DS instead of 3DS, I want some kind of new innovation added to it." It was then we came up with the idea of numbering for the first time in the series. So with a plot set 2 years after Black and White, and a development time of 2 years, we felt like we wanted to add the number 2 into the titles as
Hell
well.
yeah.
That meeting was pretty much the nail in the coffin for Pokemon Gray. And by our math, releasing 2 games instead of 1 made them about $100 million more in revenue.
Hell
As far
yeah,
as
bro.
how Gray might have been different from Black 2 and White 2, besides packing everything into a single title, the sequel's director Takao No clued us in on Famitsu. He said his plan to make them different from a typical third version came down to 3 core pillars: new protagonists, new towns, and a new adventure taking place 2 years in the future. In other words, Gray probably would have starred Hilbert and Hilda, had the
Yeah.
same towns, and taken place the same year as the originals. So basically,
Would have
a
been
Gen
less
5
interesting
version of
overall.
Pokemon Platinum. There also wouldn't have been a continuation of N's story. Masuda says they originally wanted to leave N's whereabouts a mystery at the end, just flying away on his dragon to who knows where. But fans loved the character so much they felt they had no choice but to bring him back in the sequels. So for Black 2 and White 2, they had him return to save Kyurem from Ghetsis, help you obtain the legendary dragons, then just kinda retire to his castle. But initially, the plan was to never see him again after he flies away, and leave his destiny up to fan imagination. But actually, N superfans might be interested to hear we might not have seen the last of him just yet. When Black 2 and White 2 was released, Masuda was asked if fans might eventually see one more pair of sequels with Black 3 and White 3. He said, "If in the future we feel that we want to continue, perhaps we'll have a continuation. But we're really satisfied with how Black 2 and White 2 have turned out, so perhaps not." That interview was more than 10 years ago, so maybe Game Freak's come around since then. Who knows? Maybe that's what we'll get instead of Gen 5 remakes. And now for Pokemon Z. We found out Game Freak's official explanation in a 2016 Spanish magazine where the interviewer asks why Z never happened. Masuda says, "We never really planned to make a third version. We always want to do things that surprise our fans. For example, after Black and White, people thought Pokemon Gray was going to come next, but instead we made Black and White 2. People thought Pokemon Z would come after X and Y, but taking advantage of the fact it's the 20th anniversary, we decided to deliver another surprise with Sun and Moon. In other words, instead of Z, they released a brand new generation to celebrate Pokemon's birthday in 2016. But to us, that sounds like corporate deflection, because what he
does.
said isn't actually consistent with series history. In all 3 previous generations, a paired release was followed up with a return to the same region about 2 years later. X and Y came out in 2013, so Z should have launched in 2015, not 16. In fact, 2015 was conspicuously the only year in almost a decade that didn't get a new mainline entry. And it's not just Game Freak's release schedule that suggests something's missing. There's also data hidden in their own games. We broke this down in exhaustive detail in that half-hour expose last year, so for this video, we'll give you the short version. In a combination of data mining X and Y's internal data and a leak of Sun and Moon's source code, it was revealed inside those games was a list of every Pokemon game, including some that wouldn't come out till years later. The purpose of those lists was to facilitate games connecting to each other, like trading and battling. Sun and Moon's code showed placeholder data for virtual console versions of Gold, Silver, and Crystal, which hadn't been announced yet. as well as 2 games called Alola Reserve, which eventually became Ultra Sun and Moon. Similarly, there were 2 entries called Kalos Reserve, positioned as if they were going to release in 2015. All 7 games in the data eventually did come out, except the 2 Kalos games. So actually, Game Freak's programmers weren't just reserving space for Pokemon Z, they were making room for 2 games. 2 games make more money than 1 after all.
True.
Surely there wouldn't have been 2 Pokemon Zs, maybe X2 and Y2, or XZ and YZ with the Z's stylized to look like 2s. There's no evidence for what they would have been called though, so for the sake of simplicity, we'll just refer to them collectively as Pokemon Z for the rest of this video. The anime shines even more light on that Z-shaped hole in 2015. Historically, new seasons sync up with new game releases. The first episode of the Black and White anime aired the same week as Black and White the games. Black and White anime Season 2 broadcast the same week as Black 2 and White 2. The XY anime and games also released the same week. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire launched with the episode where pretty much all the new Mega Evolutions made their anime debuts. And finally, the XYZ anime aired its first episode in October 2015. Which is when Zygarde's 10% and 50% forms made their first appearance, along with Zygarde cores and Zygarde cells. The anime's all planned out long in advance, so it appears Pokemon Z was originally scheduled to launch alongside the XYZ anime in 2015. Zygarde only played a small role in X and Y, just waiting in a post-game cave with no story connected to it. Basically the same role Kyurem had in Black and White, which got more fleshed out in the sequels. Fans expected a similarly expanded role for Zygarde in Z, and X version's Pokédex seemed to hint in that direction when it said, quote, "When the Kalos region's ecosystem falls into disarray, Zygarde appears and reveals its secret power." But that never happened, so 2 new Zygarde forms, cores, and cells found their way into Sun and Moon instead. There's also some unused content in X and Y's internal data that suggests Game Freak was planning more for Kalos, at least at the time those games were in development, like AZ's Floette, which has unique stats, a signature attack called Light of Ruin, and even its own cry in X and Y's internal data, none of which ever got used. X and Y's data also has 2 moves for Zygarde, 1,000 Arrows and 1,000 Waves, that didn't get used either. A similar thing happened in Gen 5 when Freeze Burn and Ice Shock were found in Black and White's internal data, but didn't get added as Kyurem's signature attacks until Black 2 and White 2. That the same thing happened twice suggests Game Freak may have originally intended 1,000 Arrows and 1,000 Waves for Pokemon Z. Z never came out though, so those attacks got introduced in Sun and Moon instead. All that evidence strongly suggests Game Freak intended to make Z while they were developing X and Y. So, why didn't they? We spent about 5 minutes getting overly thorough in last year's video, so this time we'll just give you the short version. Simply put, it's got a lot to do with the Gear Project. Basically, it's a Game Freak company initiative that aimed to make a new franchise that could become even more popular than Pokemon. According to one of Game Freak's directors, Masayuki Onoe, there are 2 different production teams here, simply named Production Team 1 and Production Team 2. Team 1 is fully dedicated to Gear Project, while Team 2 is for the Pokemon operation. What that means is that Game Freak as a company is prioritizing Gear Project, which is production team number 1.
You can tell when they put out Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that they're not putting forward their best foot, and this just confirms that.
Pokemon in general. We're always trying to create something that is equally exciting or more exciting than Pokemon. In other words,
I think they should just be trying to make the best Pokemon game possible, man.
For a good chunk of the 2010s, they were devoting lots of resources to making non-Pokemon games, like the rhythm platformer Harmonite, quirky horse racer Pocket Card Jockey, side-scroller Tembo the Badass Elephant, and puzzle platformer Giga Wrecker. The Gear Project was at its most active in the Gen 6 era, when those same devs could have been making Pokemon Z. Some of Game Freak's top talent worked on Gear Project games, like the directors of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and Ultra Sun and Moon. The teams who made Gear games were small, but Z could have been made with a small team as well, and pretty quickly. OSRS, for example, was developed in just a year. In another Nintendo Dream we translated, Masuda says Heart Gold and Soul Silver were made with just 12 developers, and Black 2 and White 2 had a similarly small team.
Heart Gold and Soul Silver were made with 12 developers. They're like 2 of the best Pokemon games. That's insane.
Pokemon games grew their staff by 50% when they switched from 2D to 3D. So back of the
Makes
napkin
sense.
math, Z could have gotten made by 20 devs, 30 on the high end. Game Freak staff have said in quite a few interviews that they're kind of tired of just making Pokemon year after year, and frankly, we can't blame them. They needed to recharge their batteries, learn some new skills, and work on something different for a change. Regrettably, their hopes of producing something more exciting than Pokemon didn't pan out. Gear Project games got decent reviews, but hardly anyone bought them. Talking to Famitsu, Masuda said, "Only 1 out of 50 Pokemon fans have played them. I've tried to tell our fans please try this one out, but the message didn't sink in." By all appearances, when Game Freak was making X and Y, they figured Z'd come next. But when the time came, they were too thin and stretched with the Gear Project. To be fair to Game Freak though, prioritizing failed games over Pokemon probably wasn't the only reason we never got Z. There's likely some off-the-record factors we couldn't dig up, like personal interests or office politics. Unfortunately, they don't seem interested in sharing that story with the public. You might be wondering how much of Z actually got made. Well, based on our findings, it doesn't appear Z was ever in active development. We got help from data miners to look through Gen 7's source code, but couldn't find evidence any code got copy-pasted from Z. Possibly some ideas got recycled, some Zygarde stuff, but not much actual work. Aside from sparse data and leftovers, and inferences based on series history and the XYZ anime, it's doubtful we'll ever know what Z might have become. Maybe Game Freak didn't know either. Probably over-optimistic wishful thinking on our part, but hopefully someday they'll figure it out, and make it an episode in the eventual Gen 6 remakes. With Generations 5 and 6 out of the way, now let's move on to Gen 7. The same day Sun and Moon launched in 2016, Eurogamer reported that an enhanced version of Sun and Moon codenamed Pokemon Stars was coming to Switch the following year.
This is what I was talking about.
Author, deputy editor Tom Phillips, claimed to have several sources for the story, and at least one was saying the Switch edition would add new Pokemon. Fans were excited to hear Alola was coming to an HD console, which presumably meant we'd get to explore Alola in a higher resolution than the 3DS's meager 240p. Some fans even canceled their plans to buy Sun and Moon to wait for Stars instead. Hype continued to build over the next few months, especially when the Pokemon Company announced a new campaign called Look Upon the Stars, which saw the release of an entire line of Stars-themed merch. Series director Junichi Masuda made a tweet starting with the words Pokemon Stars that some fans saw as a teaser for things to come. Anticipation peaked in mid-2017 when Amazon UK started selling pre-orders for Pokemon Stars. It appeared to be just a placeholder, as there was no box art and the release date was January 2030. But that didn't stop Stars from climbing the sales charts and reaching number 87 on Amazon's video game bestsellers list. Official confirmation seemingly arrived when Ultra Sun and Moon were announced, and the Pokemon Company's website said they were coming to Switch at a later date. They quickly deleted the Switch reference and put out a statement saying it was a clerical error, but some fans believe the slip-up was Stars getting revealed earlier than intended. Ultra Sun and Moon were, after all, very similar to how Eurogamer described Pokemon Stars, an expansion of Sun and Moon with some new Pokemon added, launching holiday 2017. The main difference was that there were 2 games instead of 1, and of course the platform they launched on. So to some, a Switch release still seemed likely. One detail that went unreported all these years is that the Pokemon Company fired the team responsible for the website, saying Ultra Sun and Moon were coming to Switch. We couldn't 100% confirm it was because of that mistake, but they got replaced right after it happened. So it certainly appears that's why they were gotten rid of. Another point of note, we talked earlier about how Sun and Moon's source code contained 2 then unreleased games codenamed Alola Reserve. Those eventually became the Ultra games, but they were reserved spots. It's possible Game Freak only would have filled one of those reservations and left the other unused. On the other hand, if Pokemon Stars actually did exist, it's possible it was a code name for 2 Switch games, not necessarily just one. Regardless, eventually it became clear Stars was never coming. 1 year after his original 2016 article, Eurogamer's Tom Phillips returned with a post-mortem titled, "So what happened with Pokemon Stars?" The internet had been ripping him a new one all year, so understandably he felt he owed an explanation. Long story short, he said his sources indicated that Stars cancellation was primarily a casualty of Nintendo's business strategy. After the failure of the Wii U, Nintendo originally wanted to release their 3 biggest IP for Switch year 1, Zelda, Mario, and Pokemon. But plans changed after the Switch exploded in popularity. And the problem wasn't that Nintendo couldn't sell them, it was that they were selling out of them, and couldn't even make enough to keep up with demand. They didn't need to play their trump card anymore.
Console too
in
good.
fact, it would have only made the Switch shortages worse. So instead, Ultra Sun and Moon and a few other big titles like Metroid Samus Returns were released throughout 2017 to keep the 3DS on life support. As a backup plan,
That is crazy that the console really was too good and just selling too good, so they had to release the games on the old console. That's insane.
and in case the Switch couldn't carry the company all on its own. Nintendo official position at the time was that both consoles would exist side by side, and the Switch wasn't a replacement for 3DS. Eurogamer also said an HD 3DS port selling for $60 could have made the Switch look bad in its first year, which
Also
was another
true.
factor in stars being canned. Understandably, some folks were pessimistic about Eurogamer's reporting, with some even accusing Eurogamer of making it all up for clicks. In the interest of presenting both sides, we should give some time to the rumor's most prominent critic, Cerebi webmaster Joe Merrick. He publicly accused Eurogamer of spreading BS and fake rumors, and argued with Tom Phillips in his article's comments section. Now, with almost 5 years as hindsight, we talked to Joe and asked what he makes of the rumor. He told us he thought Sun and Moon might have been ported to Switch purely for the sake of testing, and was never meant to become an actual product for sale. Maybe someone at Nintendo saw it running on Switch in HD, got the wrong idea, and leaked it to Eurogamer. Or maybe, Joe says, Tom's source just made it all up. When we talked to Tom, he emphatically denied both possibilities, saying Eurogamer doesn't run stories based on a single source, and the typical requirement is 3 sources at minimum. He wouldn't reveal who his sources were, of course, but he did say they were in professional positions where mistaking a test port for a real game was next to impossible. To be fair to Tom, we should point out that he's got a pretty good track record. He was the first to report on the Switch's design and internal hardware specs, almost 3 months before they were officially revealed by Nintendo. He was also the first to report on the Super NES Classic, Diablo 3 on Switch, and quite a few other games long before they were officially announced. Not everything he's written about made their way onto store shelves, like an English localization of Mother 3, but suffice it to say there's a lot of clout chasers in the gaming industry with fake insider information. But Tom isn't one of them. He told us he stands by his post-mortem article and, for the record, reiterated that the Pokemon Company did originally plan to release the Stars project on Switch in holiday 2017. In an attempt to corroborate Tom's reporting, we reached out to about 50 devs who worked on Gen 7, but they all turned us down or didn't bother responding. Pokemon keeps their people on pretty tight lockdown, unfortunately. There sure was a lot of smoke, but we can't say conclusively if there was ever fire. Whether or not Pokemon Stars ever existed remains a mystery even to this day. For this last game, we just want to say right off the bat, it's been designated lost media for years, but we restored it. And as of today, it's been added to the Internet Archive. It ain't lost media anymore, and you can play it right now if you like. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but first let's look at the game itself. Pokemon 2000 Adventure was an officially licensed game
Pokemon
that ended
2000
up
the
being
movie.
better than Nintendo expected it to be when they signed the contract, so they shut it down. But by then, 1 million people had already played it. The history on this one is pretty unique. The second Pokemon movie, called Pokemon the Movie 2000, was distributed in America by Warner Brothers. Along with the movie, Nintendo fully licensed and gave permission for Warner Brothers to create promotional materials to sell more tickets. Nintendo were probably expecting posters, art, trailers, and maybe cheap web games, like Pikachu-themed Tic-Tac-Toe. But they weren't expecting Warner Brothers to spend millions producing a 3D Pokemon game.
No.
But that's exactly what Warner Brothers did. They contracted a studio called Cyberworld, who previously made
Cyberworld.
virtual shopping malls, a Harry Potter game, and various other three-dimensional experiences. Think of them like Doom. 3D spaces populated with 2D sprites, but running in an internet browser. Pretty impressive back in the 90s.
That is
Warner
very
Brothers
impressive.
wanted to use this cutting-edge technology to promote the new Pokemon movie. We talked to Eddie Ruminski, one of Cyberworld's developers.
We launched it and we had about 1 million downloads in the span of a month, which was our most popular game to date. And that's when Nintendo freaked.
Oh.
And they immediately hit us with a cease and desist. They thought Warner Brothers breached the contract. They exceeded the contract's allowable scope, basically. Nintendo didn't expect that promotion to include something that was legitimately a video game.
I think
Back
that's
then,
fair.
the only 3D Pokemon games that existed were
I can
Pokemon
see-
Snap and Pokemon...
I can see how you would be like, okay, we're going to pay these people to promote our new Pokemon movie, and then they make a game, and you're like, that's what we do. That's our turf. What the hen?
Pokemon Stadium. So Nintendo thought fans would see this first-person adventure and think it was a new direction the series was headed in. They considered it a threat and were concerned it would cause brand confusion. Eddie was sort of a junior programmer at the time, but he was the only guy at Cyberworld familiar with Pokemon. The company got a pre-release of Pokemon the Movie 2000, sat Eddie in front of it, and asked, how the hell do we turn this into a video game? After they bounced some ideas back and forth with Warner Brothers, here's what they came up with. What you're watching now is one of our playthroughs of Pokemon 2000 Adventure. The music you're hearing is the game's soundtrack. The game begins with
Good
Professor
soundtrack.
Oak telling you there's a disturbance in the Force, and you've got to investigate. Then you pick one of 3 Pokemon teams, and a difficulty, beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Now your adventure begins, exploring 3 islands in any order you want. Your path forward is sometimes blocked by environmental obstacles that require Pokemon's special abilities to get past, like these volcanic lava plumes, for example. On our playthrough, we used Poliwhirl's water gun to extinguish the flames. Then he got experience points and evolved into Poliwrath.
That sounds
Eventually, we
good.
found Moltres. It asked us a trivia question about Lavender Town, and after we got it right, Moltres gave us a red ancient sphere. Then, on the next island, we used Lapras to freeze a lake and walk across it, melted an ice barrier with Vulpix, and answered Articuno's trivia question to get another sphere. On the final island, we cleared out some electric barriers and evolved a couple more Pokemon, and got the final sphere from Zapdos. Then Professor Oak thanked us for saving the world and awarded us a certificate for beating the game.
Hell
you can
yeah,
also
brother.
get a final score and gold, silver, or bronze ranking, depending on how well you did. The game's only about 10 minutes, but there's some replayability
that's pretty
thanks to
short.
having 3 Pokemon teams and 3 difficulty settings to choose.
Maybe Nintendo shouldn't have been that worried about Warner Brothers making a 10-minute game. It's not like someone's going to play this 10-minute game and be like, you know what, I don't need to buy actual Pokemon.
From. By the time Nintendo struck down the game, the devs had already got paid, they got to see the movie before it hit theaters, and they got to say they'd worked on a massively successful Pokemon game.
It was the greatest compliment via cease and desist, saying, sorry,
it's
what
too
you
good.
made was too much like a good video game. At the end of the day, when it was pulled, it was more like, we've already been paid. Like, that was a $2
True.
million deal for that to make that game. Once it was
Based.
pulled, it was like, we did the work, it was great, it was really popular. We hit the 1 million downloads that we, like, didn't even dream of to begin with. So when it was pulled, we were all happy.
Warner Brothers was happy too. With 1 million downloads, they got more promotion than they were expecting, and Pokemon 2000 went on to become the 2nd highest grossing Japanese movie to ever hit American theaters. So really, everyone was happy except Nintendo. And if you want to play the game yourself, you'll be happy too, because here's directions on how you can play it right now. Eddie's been holding on to the raw files for the past 23 years. Then after he saw our
Look,
video
I don't think
about
I'm going to play that game, to be fair. Where's the timer at? We got 17 minutes till this direct. I think my time is slightly behind. What the hell? Presentation will begin at 6 a.m. PT. 15 minutes. What to watch? Wait, does he actually... Is this a date? That's just a podcast, isn't it? What the hell? What the hell? Why Apple doesn't care about iPhone design anymore? Oh. Sag? Yo. I'm not fishing. I'm just waiting for this Nintendo Direct. Should I fish until Nintendo Direct? It's not that long. There's like 15 minutes left, I think. We got 15 minutes till the Nintendo Direct. I should always fish. You reckon I should always fish? That's 7k fishing XP. You could be leveling. It's true. I do think you got to understand that my number one priority is always the Twitch stream. RuneScape XP is not my number one priority in life. Also, how was work? Also, it's their fault for doing maintenance and kicking me out for like 15 minutes. Wait, what? While you're learning how to pick locks, the drawer are training. While you're studying restoration, the drawer are training. While you're taking a course in smithing, the drawer are training. It's questing time, bitches. Drawer, murder boss, death king. Drawer, murder boss. You doing other things versus me. The drawer training skills. Mate, I don't have to be the best at RuneScape. I play for fun. The drawer. You don't know the drawer. I guess we should go to... Whoa, there we go. Draugr. The Draugr. Draugr. What the Draugr? Did we finish? No, we still need to cook the swordfish. Draugr. Wait. We're cooking some fish though. Whoa, cooking some swordfish, baby. We out here. Yo, Recon family in the house with the ... How's it going, Recon family? You ready for this Nintendo Direct in 12 minutes? I sawed you earlier fishing. I went and had a full ass sleep. I come back to more fish. That's right, Recon family. You had a full ass sleep. Mr. Wolf had a full ass sleep. And I swear before before Old School and you got here, I almost had a full ass sleep on the stream while we watched a video about in fact, now that people are chatting, I may as well just do this. While you were sleeping, Peep was training. Was I training? Or was I watching a video about unreleased Pokemon games? Wait. Why is my cam there? I just moved my cam on this scene. That was the wrong move. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? Oh, oh, oh. And we want that timer. Although the timer's going to go away every time I click on the game. So that's going to be annoying. Oh, I need to put these in the bag. Can you guys tell that I've been streaming for 13 hours and 48 minutes? Can you tell? Is it obvious? I'm going to train on crabs while farming seaweed during work today. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. That's what I'm talking about, though. Time till Nintendo Direct. You can catch a swordfish. Whoop, whoop. I will not be playing RuneScape during the Direct, though. I'm going to devote my attention to the Direct. It's the only way to effectively train crafting on an iron. Fair. Fair shake. I might put my... Chat could go there. It seems fairly valid. You know, I think it was better the other way. With the chat down here. And my cam. Oh, come on, cam. Up here. Oh. You get seaweed and buckets and sand. Use a lunar spell book to cast glass. Make, then blow the glass. Interesting. I guess we should be in the OSRS category. For the next 11 minutes. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. What do we got? Week 3 of OSRS. NETFISH and Chill. I think that's such a good stream title. While waiting for Nintendo Direct. There's got to be a gorilla emoji. Is Donkey Kong a gorilla or an ape? These are the real questions. Is Donkey Kong a gorilla? Look at this, a large, powerful gorilla. He's a gorilla. Gorilla emoji. Doom, doom. Doo 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 doom, 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 doom. Honestly, if I was being smart, I should have been playing a Donkey Kong game. But homie needs a capture card to get that Switch going. Doom, 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 doom. Oh, hell yeah. We almost there. 6 minutes, guys. No more fish. Just can't get no more fish. Honestly, I think I'm gonna go to the toilet because I need to go to the toilet, and then that way I've been to the toilet before the direct starts. But I'll start cooking my tuna.
And special thanks to Dante.
Recon hit us with the look. Thanks for the look, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Recon. Appreciate you and your family. Your Recon family. Alright. We're cooking these fish. Oh, it started.
When the world felt so cruel and bleak, when the whole looked so dark.
Good morning, Darkspark. Wait, what is that? What's the noise? Oh, that's the timer. What the frick? Is Windows the worst thing that's ever happened? Stop making noise. What the heck? What the heck? What the heck? It stopped. Okay. We're okay.
Golden Bananas, the discovery of the century, made right here on Ingot Isle. This is excellent news for #1 banana fan, Donkey Kong. However, just as he's about to enjoy the notable bananas, a sudden tempest sends him deep down underground.
Hell yeah.
As his adventure begins, DK teams up with Odd Rock, but it's no rock at all. It's actually a talented young singer named Pauline.
Bruh.
Now, Donkey Kong just wants bananas.
He sure
and
does.
Pauline wants to find a way back home to the surface.
And
It's
maybe she
said
wants
that
bananas
one's wish
too?
will be granted by reaching the planet core. So the unlikely duo set off on a strange subterranean adventure.
Dude, this is a good looking video game.
The story takes place in the underground world, where the scenery changes the deeper you go. Some layers are so spectacular that it's hard to believe you're underground. DK can run,
Hell yeah.
jump,
Hell yeah.
and climb through each environment. Using his incredible physical prowess, you can freely move in any direction. But that's not all. Almost anything in your path, you can smash,
Hell yeah, bro.
crash, and bash. You can even do this to a massive rock formation. You know, if you
Wow.
want.
Why did that happen
As you
at a weird
barrel
frame
through
rate?
obstacles in your path, you'll also collect golden bananas known as Banandium gems.
Banandium gems. Let's freaking go. The banana's
Hold on those,
terrestrialized.
Let's take a look at some of the things this Kong can do.
Hell yeah, brother.
Punch,
Hell yeah, brother.
smash enemies,
This looks
walls,
good.
the ground, and most things you can get your hands on with incredible force.
Dude,
Destruction
it's
can lead
gorgeous.
to discoveries. So set off a chain reaction and see what happens. Dive punch. Unleash a powerful punch directly downward. How deep you punch into the ground depends on the strength of the terrain. Roll forward. Roll at high speed and send lighter objects soaring. Combine this with punches and jumps to really mix things up.
Based.
Hand slap.
Kind of Jack and
Make
Daxter
some noise
energy.
to collect scattered items. Or detect hidden objects using sonar. You
That
can
is
even use your
cool.
feet when your hands are occupied. Tear off. Grab a chunk of terrain and tear it off. Or tear up turnips to find
Did I say
items.
more?
And even tear chunks off your foes. Swing. Grab a chunk and swing it to attack. Harder
Swing.
chunks can be used to break stone with ease.
Next you'll be saying war.
Or smash spiky thorns. Chunk
That does seem
jump.
like a good gameplay mechanic though.
Use a chunk to double jump.
Nice.
This will help you reach new heights.
Double chunk.
Throw. Throw a chunk.
Dude, let's start throwing chunks.
Or aim at a target like this. Throwing a boom rock or gold can have explosive effects.
Hell yeah.
If you throw chunks made of softer material, you can stick them to a surface and pile them up.
What? That's crazy.
Serve. This lets you ride on chunks.
Bruh, this looks so good.
Speed up and aim for smaller enemies to knock them away. Make music. The power of Pauline's singing
Switch
will help
2
show
sold
you the
out.
way. It can also remove these strange seals that someone left behind. You never know what you'll discover in the underground world.
Oh, the music.
So carve your own path with DK's abilities.
Bro. What is that?
The many layers of the underground world are host to a variety of inhabitants. Some are mysterious and aren't too bothered by DK's destructive tendencies. It looks like Cranky
The
Kong and
rhino.
his companion Rambi are also venturing through the layers of the world.
Awesome.
Then there are the giant elders who call the underground world home.
I'm
They're
thinking
said
this
to
is
possess ancient bonanza
Mario
powers.
Odyssey size. And not a smaller game.
By learning their bonanza powers, Pauline's singing can do something special.
DK.
She can make Donkey Kong transform.
What? On Bonanza?
With incredible destructive power, even hard terrain poses no problem.
Whoa.
Plow through the world and smash as much as possible with the powerful Kong Bonanza. Plus, DK can transform into a zebra. He's as
Bruh.
speedy as he is striped. He can even
Zebra
breeze over
Kong?
water or crumbling pathways. That's the swift Zebra Bonanza. Oh yeah, he can also turn into an ostrich. A flying ostrich.
Whoa.
Spread your wings and soar through the sky.
This game's crazy.
You can use updrafts to gain more air. Then drop egg bombs from great heights to send enemies
bombs.
scattering. That's right, it's Ostrich Bonanza.
Okay,
Bonanza
bro.
transformations don't last forever though.
Oh.
You can transform again by collecting gold to build up your Bonanergy.
It's weird because the rhino was there,
You're
Rambi
not
was
limited
there.
to when or where you transform, and you can swap between transformations. So get creative and use them as you adventure to the planet core.
Why he turns into the animals I don't really understand.
Standing in our hero's way is the Void Company, the mightiest mining operation both above
Is
ground
that an
and below.
orangutan?
Grumpy Kong works to create gigantic
Grumpy
corporate
Kong.
soldiers.
Oh.
Poppy Kong is responsible for subterranean info gathering, while Void Kong is in charge of the whole company.
Did you like that?
This
Corporations be like
nefarious
that.
crew is responsible for the banana-stealing maelstrom on Ingot Isle,
Re-
and they're heading straight down to the planet core.
Straight down, baby.
Planet core? But no! I'm
Void Code blocked off all the routes to the lower layers, so no one
What
could
age
reach
is Pauline supposed to be here? She seems very young.
DK and his pals will come face to face with the enemies guarding these routes. So use all the power at your disposal to take on a host of powerful foes.
See, I was only going to use some of the power at my
By
disposal,
defeating them,
and then he said to use all of it.
giant sinkholes will open,
Whoa.
clearing a path to the lower layers of the underground world. Found throughout the underground world are golden bananas called Banandium gems. They're not always visible though. Sometimes they're buried in the walls, the ground, and other places.
Dude, that like
There
purple
are a whole
tinted
bunch to find.
snow is just gorgeous.
You can also obtain these gems by completing challenges in the ruins found throughout your adventure.
Let's do this.
Challenges include time-limited battles, courses where you'll need clever solutions, side-scrolling stages, and more.
Cool. Classic Donkey Kong Country energy.
Keep your eyes peeled to find the Banandium gems.
Dude, that's so cool.
There are plenty of ruins to discover, so give them a try.
That form looks very weird though.
As you collect Banandium gems, you'll gain skill points. These can be used to increase stats such as your max health or the
So it's an
destructive
RPG.
power of your punches. Power up Donkey Kong to match your playstyle. For example,
yeah.
if you strengthen your sonar, you'll be able to detect treasure from further away, which could lead to new discoveries.
Street.
Or use skill points to learn new skills. There are all sorts of items to find as you explore. Banandium chips are shaped like slices of banana,
Yum.
and they can be traded for Banandium gems at the chip exchange.
Dude, this is just gonna make me want dry
These
banana.
gold nuggets are, unsurprisingly, called gold.
What?
You can exchange gold for useful items at the stuff shop.
Banana chips.
There are fossils too. You can trade these for different fashions at local style shops.
This is very Mario Odyssey.
Just open the closet and customize the perfect fits for Donkey Kong and Pauline.
This is the follow-up to Mario
Or even
Odyssey.
change up your fur color. No look is too much for Donkey Kong or too little. Almost every article of clothing comes with its own benefits, so mix and match your look to suit the situation.
Ha. Suit.
If you find a treasure chest buried in the ground, crack it open, and you might receive
Bro,
a
this
treasure
looks
map
so
showing
good.
the location of Banandium gems or fossils.
I want to play this.
Their locations will be marked on your map. Pretty helpful for finding collectibles. You can also see which fossils and Banandium gems you've collected, making it easy to see how close you are to completion.
Didgeridoo.
There's plenty more to do in the underground world when not adventuring. Need a rest? Carve out a space and enjoy a getaway where you can
What?
recover in bed.
It's
And
Pokemon
enjoy
Ruby and
listening
Sapphire.
to tunes with the music player.
Yo,
You might even find new discs when defeating enemies.
discs? You mean records? Did they
When
really?
it comes to moving between layers,
Did he say discs
subterranean
because he thought no one would
eels
know what a
have your
record is?
These elevators will help you easily move between layers you visited at any time. And if you get lost, no need to worry. You can always teleport within the layer you're currently exploring.
Teleport there? What? Why can't you say teleport?
In photo mode, you can freely change the in-game camera angle and adjust other settings to snap pics.
It's a good looking game, man.
Get a photo like this. or that.
Donkey
Unleash your
Kong.
inner Shutterbug and create your own captivating scenes.
I
By
really
sharing
wanna
a
play this.
Joy-Con 2 controller or using a second set, you and a pal can control Donkey Kong and Pauline separately to buddy
Switch
up
2 and a
in
capture
local
card's gonna
co-op
set me
play.
back big
As
time though.
Pauline, you can unleash vocal blasts using Joy-Con 2 mouse controls. You can also copy the material of nearby terrain to give your vocals even more texture. By working together, even tough enemies don't stand a chance. This game also supports Game Share. Even if only one player has the game, they can quickly share it to
Hell
another
yeah.
player so they can join on their own system.
Waste.
It can also be shared locally to a Nintendo Switch system.
Huh?
Plus, you can play online between Nintendo Switch 2 systems using Game Share via Game Chat.
Whoa.
If you need a little help with all the platforming action,
Wait, so this is
mode
going to be
is
on the
way to
original
play.
Switch?
It guides you in the right direction, halves the damage you receive, and more. Assist mode supports you in your adventure to be the best Kong you can be. Outside of the main game, there's a mode where you can carve stone using mouse controls called DK Artist.
True.
Rotate
They
to
had to do
paint.
something with the mouse controls. I thought they would make Mario Paint, and they probably will at some point.
Carve material,
Dude, that's pretty based.
or add
Especially-
some back on.
When I was a kid, I would have gone mad for this.
You can even change the lighting and add delectable banana effects.
That's
Give
cool.
it a try and sculpt to your
Mario,
heart's content.
Bowser, Pizza, Bert, Statue, Bust.
This game also supports amiibo accessories. A new Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo figure is also on the
pretty
way.
good.
Scanning it unlocks Pauline's Diva dress. By
Don't
scanning
need
the
that.
Donkey Kong series amiibo shown here, gold Kong tiles with explosive power will
That's
appear.
based. We love the Kong tiles.
Every other amiibo released up to this point is also compatible. If you scan them, you'll get giant spheres like these.
Random? Nothing to do with what character the amiibo is. You just get a giant spear.
I love to sing more than anything.
Wow, they animate Donkey Kong.
I have this dream. Oh, maybe if we get to the surface, you and me, we can make it more than a dream.
Whoa. Nintendo and these original songs. I didn't really vibe the ending song at the end of Mario Odyssey.
Join the powerful Donkey Kong and the talented singer Pauline as they set out on an adventure to the fabled planet Core.
This song has to be the worst part of the whole thing. Everything else looks awesome. They're really trying to make it appeal to girls too.
Donkey Kong Bonanza.
That did look freaking
Available
good though.
July 17th only on Nintendo Switch 2. Pre-orders are available now
Next
on
month.
Nintendo eShop. The Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo will also be available July 17th.
Bro, if I had money. And then that's it. That's the whole thing. Wow. Wow, chat, what do we think? What do we think about that? I thought it looked freaking awesome. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a very good looking game. I think the style of it looks great. I think the gameplay looks great. I just didn't vibe that song at the end.
When the world
Oh, they did start with bad music too.
and bleak, when the hole looks so dark and deep, heart is rock, cold as stone. I was scared, alone. Then your beat showed the way.
The hand feet, though. Bonanza. Man, he looks very orange there. Alright. Ooh.
Golden bananas. The discovery.
I pretty much just went back because we missed that first bit when Windows was flipping out. But team, I think we did it. I think it's been a W stream, if I dare say so myself. I think the Donkey Kong game looks good. Kind of makes me wish I had the money for a Switch 2, that game, and a capture card. But alas. No, Jacob. I don't usually swear on stream, but... No, I'm going to sleep, dude. I've been streaming for 14 hours and 19 minutes. That's the stream. I guess we're just going to work out who to raid, I guess. Who do we raid, though? Who do we raid, though? We could raid Emilio. We could raid someone fresh, though. We could expand our world. Expand our world. We could raid Hex from Good Game. Raid Hex Steph. What's she playing? June Awakening. Hex Steph. Boom. Here comes the raid. Let her know that Peepcast sent you. Show her the Peepcast raid love. And I'll see y'all on the next stream. Bye.
What'd you say to that?
Add.